that is social political thought of modern India. That was the topic. That is the paper. Social political thought of modern India. In the last session, I try to discuss with you the nature of social and political thought of modern India and how it evolved. Before initiating the class, let me summarize what I had told you in my last class. That political thought is a symbol of growth of civilization of any society. When we talk about political thought, we refer to Western political thought always. The political thought which was developed in Europe, comprising of Greek period, Roman period, medieval period, and modern period, reflecting the view from Plato to Karl Marx. So, सबुबेले political thought कहले the reference point is Western political thought. काहेकि Western political thought is considered to be rational, analytical, and secular. It is quite systematic also. It has been revised repeatedly. काहेकि revised ହେଇଛି? That Western society remained under monarchy. Western society, people learned the art of resistance because they were exposed to a movement called Renaissance movement. यूरोप रे गोटे मूवमेंट हेतिला रेनेसां मूवमेंट जहा फल रे लोक माने रेजिस्ट करबाटा सिखिथिले. द्वितीयतः लोक माने मोनार्की अंडर रहिले, ऑपरेशन अंडर रहिले, तेणु से माने रेजिस्ट करबा सिखिले. तृतीयतः सेठी सिविल सोसाइटी रहउची बा सोसाइटी से मन को स्पेस मिलुची जोथरे निजर व्यू से माने व्यक्त करि पारछंती. चतुर्थतः यूरोप रे इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन हेतिला, तेणु एजुकेशन द इम्पोर्टेंस बढ़ीथिला. So people were quite articulate. So due to these four factors, in Western society, political thinkers from Plato to Marx, they have expressed the view on political thought. जेतेबेले political thought कहूछु, they have tried to define the role of the individual and responsibility of the state. Thereby, they try to cover the political issues like right, liberty, equality, justice, and political obligation. तेणु जेतेबेले आमे political thought कहूछु, we are talking about individual state relationship. We are discussing political values like right, liberty, equality, justice, and political obligation. पांचटा values. In Western society, these values are quite systematic. These values are expressed while touching issues like human nature, social organization, and nature of the state. एटे सबुबेले मन रख, एटा इंट्रोडक्शन. तेणु पॉलिटिकल थिंकर माने जेतेबेले पॉलिटिकल थॉट कहंती सेतेबेले they were influenced by their contemporary situation and they try to talk about human nature. They try to talk about the social organization. They try to reflect upon the nature of the state. And during that process, they develop different views on people's rights, people's freedom, people's equality, justice, etc. In Western society, because of the repeated revision, these views are quite systematic. This is the background. Now coming to India. In India, Western, so in West, political thought, modern political thought in West was developed in the context of Renaissance. Context means co-background. In Western society, political thought that developed mainly, modern political thought was developed in the background of Renaissance. Renaissance was a cultural movement which focused upon the value of individual, role of individual. Coming to India, modern political thought in India was developed in the context of colonization. The context was colonization. The context was colonization leading to freedom struggle. ତେଣୁ Indian political thought ର nature କୁହାଯାଏ social and political thought. It was called social and political thought because during the colonization process, so many socio-economic changes were taking place. So while articulating individual state relationships, political thinkers beginning from Rammohn Roy to Jawaharlal Nehru, they were influenced by socio-economic conditions, cultural values. ତେଣୁ ତାକୁ କୁହାଯାଏ social and political thought of modern India. I think I am now clear. So if the Western political thought was developed in the context of Renaissance, in the context of a movement which focused upon the role of the individual, which focused upon the role of the individual, Indian political thought was developed in the context of colonization. Both were different. Renaissance होउची गोटिए movement which tried to emphasize upon the fact that individual was important. So his rights are important, his freedom are important, his role with the state is important. So that was the Renaissance movement. So because of the Renaissance movement, it influenced their political thought. So their political thought focuses upon political values like right, liberty, equality, justice in a systematic manner. They highlight the role of individual and responsibility of the state. भारत को जेते बेले आसुचो हमर पेपर ना होची सोशल पॉलिटिकल थॉट ऑफ मॉडर्न इंडिया. The context is not Renaissance. The context was colonization. भारत को 1600 रे ब्रिटिशर्स माने आसिले. They came to India as a traders. कारण वेस्ट रे जेते बेले Renaissance movement हैला, due to Renaissance movement people became enterprising, people became rational. तेणु यूरोप रे इंडस्ट्रियल रिवोल्यूशन हैला. तेणु यूरोप रे इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन हैला. एंड इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन नीड मार्केट. जिनिस बिकिबा लागि मार्केट दरकार. यूरोपियन मार्केट वाज नॉट सफिशिएंट. They were in search of market. India became a lucrative market. So colonization was linked with Renaissance movement. Renaissance जदि हेई न थांता, इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन हेई न थांता, भारत कॉलोनी रे परिवर्तित हेई न थांता, तमे गोटिए मॉडर्न इंडियन पॉलिटिकल थॉट बोली किछि पढु न थांतो. So the first Renaissance सहित भी हमर colonization रो लिंक अछि. वो गोटिए जिनसे बारंबार कहूची वेस्टर्न पॉलिटिकल थॉट रो कॉन्टेक्स्ट होची Renaissance. मॉडर्न इंडियन पॉलिटिकल थॉट रो कॉन्टेक्स्ट होची colonization. दुईटा जाक भीतर गोटे लिंक अछि. Renaissance हैला 15th सेंचुरी रे यूरोप रे. Renaissance होची गोटे रैशनल आउटलुक डेवलप कला यूरोप रे लोक मानक भीतरे. लोक माने इनक्विजिटिव हेले. लोक माने जानिबा को चेष्टा कले. जहा फल रे कि डिस्कवरीज इन्वेंशन हैला. इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन नो आरंभ होला यूरोप रे. The industrialization needed market. So India, which was by then discovered by Vasco da Gama, was made colony by the East India Company. So in 1600, India was made colony. 1600 ରୁ 1757 କୁହ. 1757 होची तमरो बैटल ऑफ पलासी. 1857 होची सिपाही न्यूज. So from 1600 to 1757, it was a bilateral trade between East India Company and Indian merchants. Both were gaining. जहाँ दुई जनकर लाभ होता. तेणु मॉडर्न इंडियन पॉलिटिकल थॉट से समय रे आरंभ हेई नथिला. मॉडर्न इंडियन पॉलिटिकल थॉट केतेबेले आरंभ होला 1757 परे जेतेबेले ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी भारत रे शासन करबा को चेष्टा कला. जेतेबेले तमे शासन करिवो, you want to have control over the people of India and you want to have the power over administration. तेणु 1600 to 1757 भितरे जदियो ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी was very much there in India, modern Indian political thought आरंभ ही नहीं. modern Indian political thought आरंभ होइछि 1857 कारण 1757 ରୁ 1857 ଭିତରେ East India Company was ruling us not in a Britishers were ruling us through East India Company 1857 ଯେତେବେଳେ ସରିଲା East India Company was driven out କାହିଁକି Sepoy mutiny was a threat to the British Empire so East India Company was withdrawn our administration was switched over to British Parliament এই পরিপ্রেক্ষিতে modern Indian political thought started evolving I think I am making quite clear ତେଣୁ 1857 କାହିଁକି modern Indian political thought ର context taku colonization in general and 1857 in particular बोली कहा जाउची colonization आरंभ होइतला 1600 रे impact of colonization was quite visible after 1757 कारण 1600 ରୁ 1757 भितरे भारत रे ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी रो impact एते visible नथिला 1857 on 1757 onward 1757 to 1857 होती the period of East India Company এই period रे they started entering into the Indian domain gradually slowly and during that period we started having to know about English education railway communication telegraph all these things I have told you in my last class bureaucracy was developed land reform was made so all these things were done by the East India Company because it wanted to remain in India to have to exploit the people of India to have profit for itself and a share of profit was given to the British Parliament so the beneficiary were directly East India Company and the British Parliament and what about the people of India Indian people were not directly benefited because they were exploited. But we must remember, while ruling us, they introduced certain modernization process in India, which in the long run proved to be the basis of growth of modern Indian political thought in India. So this is the background of growth of modern Indian political thought. Now the point is, if this is the background of modern Indian political thought, then what was there earlier? Because as I told you repeatedly, that in Western political thought there was no consistency. From 5th century BC to 18th century, if you go through the Western political thought, you find several variations in the form of organic thought during Greek period, mechanistic thought in modern period, idealistic thought in 18th century and anarchist thought in 19th century. काहेकि सेठी एते प्रकार वेरिएशन देखिबा को मिलुची वेस्टर्न थॉट तार रीजन होउची दैट देयर वाज इंडिविजुअलिज्म मनुष्य केतेबेले चिंता व्यक्त करे जेतेबेले तमे इंडिपेंडेंट रहिबो जेतेबेले तमर भितर गोटे करेज अछि टू एक्सप्रेस योर व्यूज सो इन यूरोप पीपल वर quite emphatic upon their existence because of the Renaissance movement. They knew the art of resistance. So one was Renaissance movement. Second was absolute monarchy was there. So people knew the art of resistance. When they were suppressed, they resisted. And third, there was civil society, which provided them scope to express their views. And fourth, there was industrialization, spread of education. So people like Plato, not all people, like Rousseau, like Hegel, they came forward to define individual state relations in different manner. Coming to India, what existed prior to modern social political thought? 1857 आगु आमर किछि थॉट थिला कि ना सडनली हठात आमर पॉलिटिकल थॉट आरंभ होला 1857 रे जेतेबेले कुहा जाउची modern social political thought or social political thought of modern India, that means something existed prior to that also. What was that? That was called classical Indian political thought. Why it is important to understand classical political thought? Because classical political thought is based on certain essential attributes which is still or which is followed or which is adopted by modern Indian political thought also, despite having lot of changes. Though it had incorporated so many changes after coming in contact with Western people, coming in contact with the Britishers, but the essential three components of classical political thought continue to exist. ସେଥିପାଇଁ କୁହାଯାଏ Western political thought is full of variation, but Indian political thought is characterized by sense of continuity. What is that continuity? What is the link which connects classical political thought with modern political thought? The three attributes: human nature, it was characterized as moral by Manu, by Gandhi and Jayaprakash Narayan. Why I am saying Gandhi? Gandhi belonged to 20th century. Jayaprakash Narayan still much later political. So man is not a selfish being as told by Hobbes. Plato कहले man social. Hobbes कहले man selfish. So different version अछि Western रे. भारत रे सब बेले गोटिए कथा कुहाउची, man is a selfless creature who wants to grow. At the same time, he allows others to grow. काहेकि एपरि चिंताधारा मनुष्य रहला? कारण आमर ऑब्जेक्टिव होची इनर ग्रोथ और स्पिरिचुअलिज्म. We believe in spiritualism. From Manu to Jayaprakash Narayan, we express spiritualism in different formats. Spiritualism ro opposite हैला materialism. No political thinker advocate materialism in India or give importance to materialism at the cost of spiritualism. So that is the continuity. Second, we believe that society should be plural. State should not be made so powerful that it would be all in the society. For example, if you go to the China, बर्तमान भारत और चाइना भितर युद्ध लाइक सिचुएशन सब बेले होउची. तम मन प्रश्न उठुथबो बा कोरोना भाइरस है ना भारत रे काहे की कंट्रोल हे पाबु नाही, चाइना रे काहे की कंट्रोल हे गला. Again, I would say about the nature of political system. We belong to a democratic society where state is not in all. Narendra Modi is not controlling whether you will read in IGNOU mode or you will take admission in BJP, whether you will take political science or take sociology or physics, etc., etc. That is your personal matter. He doesn't interfere. He has no right to interfere even if he is your prime minister. Because we have not given that power to the state to interfere in our personal domain. Go to China, in Corona was controlled. So many people died, the news was not leaked. Because it was a communist society where state was all in all. My point of giving this example is that in Indian society, state was never all in all. There was a society and there was a state. The difference between the state and society already existed in different formats. We did not have anything called civil society in classical Hindu period, but we allowed individuals to grow through different caste groups, that is Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra in early Vedic period. That was called functional socialization. And state should not interfere in my job. State has no right to interfere in my personal domain. So society was plural and state had a limited role to play. State has no right to interfere in your personal domain. So these three elements, which was defined by classical political thinkers, it was borrowed by modern political thinkers also. ସେଥିପାଇଁ କୁହାଯାଏ there is a continuity. Manu to Jayaprakash Narayan, continuity ରହୁଛି କାରଣ still we believe that man is selfish, society should be plural, state should be limited. ଯେତେବେଳେ state କୁହାଯାଉଛି difference କହିପାରିବା. ମନୁ କୌଟିଲ୍ୟ ଟାଇମ୍ ରେ state ର nature ଯାହା ଥିଲା ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ state ର nature ନାହିଁ. We have been modernized because of the British influence. That is the contribution of the British. We have been modernized. Constitution has a role to play. Parliamentary system develop kala. Federalism asila. Election thila. It a classical thought and all these were borrowed or they are part of the modernization process that taku kuhaja modern political thought. But this modern political thought was evolved, keeping the elements or basic attributes of classical political thought in mind. ତେଣୁ ସବୁବେଳେ କହିବ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଯୋଉ ପିଲାମାନେ modern Indian political thought ପଢୁଛ, they must remember these three elements of classical political thought. When you will be reading Nehru, when you will be reading Ambedkar, when you will be going through Gandhi, you ask yourself that Madam has told these were the three elements of Indian political thought, be it classical or be it modern, whether they exist or not. Or Madam has exaggerated. It is your duty to cross-check whether these three elements exist or not. Now coming to modern political, that's why it is very important to give the background. What was classical political thought and how it has influenced the modern political thought. While talking the background of modern political thought, I told you it was the colonization. Colonization the phase na tome define karibo, it can be divided into three phases. Prathama phase ta thila 1600 to 1770 jota kochi basic trade was there. It was beneficial to both the side, both Indian merchant and the Western merchant. Second phase, they came down and settled down India as East India Company. That was the second phase. They applied brute force. They applied force. That was called policy of annexation. They started conquering one state after another. They wanted to keep India as its colony by applying raw force, crude force. That was the second phase. East India Company was the second phase. And third phase was the British Parliament, arrival of the British Parliament. That was after 1757. Third phase is different from the second phase. Because East India Company was asked to withdraw because it was running after profit only, without taking care of the common mass. Resistance British wanted to remain in India because colonization was needed to have profit. So the third phase was exploiting India shrewdly in a skilled manner. What was that skill? That industries were running industries started running, or industries were running in the West, and raw materials were shifted from India to the West, to England in particular. And thereby what they did? They produced goods by using our raw material. And then those processed goods were sold to us at a higher price. So we were losers. And during that process, they deliberately destroyed our agriculture. They deliberately destroyed our process of industrialization. जो किसी भी industrialization थिला, ताको ସେମାନେ destroy कले. कारण भारतर industry जो sector में भी थिला, it was quite good in quality, was earning huge amount of profit. So it was not allowed. So Indian merchants were not allowed to grow. Indian agri farmers were not allowed to grow. That is the third phase. The exploitation became more heinous. ତେଣୁ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ପ୍ରୋସେସ ଦେଇଥିଲି ମୁଁ ଯୋଉ ସର୍ଟ ଫର୍ମରେ କହିଲି 1600 ରୁ 1947 ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ଯୋଉ ତିନିଟା ଫେଜ ଦେଇକିରି ଆମେ ଗଲୁ ସେଇ ପ୍ରୋସେସଟାକୁ ଇନ ଏ ବ୍ରଡ ଟର୍ମ କୁହାଗଲା colonization. So colonization means three phases. Simple trade, then doing trade by using force, then doing trade skillfully by destroying our agriculture and industry. Whatever it may be, in that result, it was called exploitation. Gotiye word re kuhajai paribo colonization leading to exploitation. And in that phase, modern Indian political thought started growing. Because that phase was quite hectic. That phase coincided with economic, social and cultural change. We call it social and political thought of modern. এই জায়গায় political thought normally individual state relationship describe করিবা কথা एई स्टेट रे एई फेज रे पॉलिटिकल थॉट केवल राइट लिबर्टी कथा कहवा कथा बट the phase is so complex that automatically while defining political thought we had to include the social change, cultural change and economic change. During that process all the political leaders while they try to speak about the individual state relationship they did not try to define individual state relationship. Their objective was to drive out the British authority. And during that process, they define individual state relationship indirectly. That is the difference between Western thought and Indian thought again. Western thought is appears to be more systematic. When Hobbes wrote about Leviathan, when utilitarianism principle was articulated by Bentham or me, they did not imagine about freedom struggle. But be it Gandhi, be it Nehru, be it Bankim Chandra or Jinnah, they articulated Indian individual state relationship while fighting against the British. Fighting against the British was done in different manners. But the agenda was one, to drive out the British. And during that process, as a byproduct of the freedom struggle, I am saying byproduct, as a byproduct of the freedom struggle, political thought started evolving gradually and slowly. So this is the background of modern Indian social political thought. ଯେତେବେଳେ modern Indian social political thought କୁହାଯାଏ normally ତାକୁ ତିନିଟା ଭାଗରେ ଭାଗ କରାଯାଏ. ଗୋଟିଏ କୁହାଯାଉଛି departure, ଗୋଟିଏ କୁହାଯାଉଛି maneuvering, ଗୋଟିଏ କୁହାଯାଉଛି arrival. ତେଣୁ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ତିନିଟା ଫେଜରେ ଭାଗ କରାଗଲା departure, maneuvering, arrival, three schools were there. କିନ୍ତୁ ଏଇ ଜିନିଷଟାକୁ ବୁଝିବାକୁ ହେଲେ ତମେ ଯୋଉ ଏତେ ଗୁଡେ ଚ୍ୟାପ୍ଟର ଅଛି ମୁଁ ସବୁବେଳେ କହେ ପାଠଟାକୁ ସାଇଣ୍ଟିଫିକାଲି ପଢ କମ ପରିଶ୍ରମରେ ବେଶୀ ଜ୍ଞାନ ପାଇବାକୁ ଚେଷ୍ଟା କର. Always have a sketch of your own so that it will be an analytical study. Don't try to mug up. Again, because you are not a full-fledged student, you may not get chance to read always. You might be getting less time. So, always study scientifically. ତେଣୁ ତମେ ଦେଖିବ ତମର ବହୁତ ଗୁଡେ ଚ୍ୟାପ୍ଟର ଅଛି. ବହୁତ ଗୁଡେ ଚ୍ୟାପ୍ଟରକୁ ଗୋଟେ ଫ୍ଲୋ ଚାର୍ଟରେ ଡିଜାଇନ କର. That context is colonization. Context was exploitation. How it had helped in the growth of modern Indian political thought. Now, basically ଆମେ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିବା ଯେ ଯେତେବେଳେ departure କଥା କୁହାଯାଉଛି departure is the first school. What led to the departure? And what do you mean by departure? Departure ମାନେ ଛାଡି ଯିବା. କଣ ଛାଡି ଗଲେ ସେମାନେ? କଣ ଥିଲା ଯେ ତାକୁ ଛାଡି ଗଲେ? Now, ଯେତେବେଳେ departure କହୁଛ, departure is about late 19th century. ସିପାହୀ ମ୍ୟୁଟିନି ସରିଗଲା. 1885 ଏରିଆକୁ କୁହାଯାଉଛି 1885 onwards period କୁ କୁହାଯାଉଛି departure. But what the word departure refers to and how it contributed to the political thought. ତମେ ଯଦି ମନେ ପକେଇବ last class ରେ I told you that for the growth of modern Indian political thought, there were three important groups. One, impact of the British administration, British rule. द्वितीय, role of the social reformer. तृतीय, role of the political leader. ତିନି ଭାଗରେ ଭାଗ କରାଯାଏ. ତେଣୁ modern Indian political thought ମାନେ ଏଇ ତିନି ଜଣଙ୍କର contribution ରେ modern Indian political thought grow କଲା. ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ କହୁଛୁ what the British contributed, କାରଣ ଏ departure ସେମାନଙ୍କର ଏଜେଣ୍ଡା ଆସିବ what they contributed. As I told you in my last class, British introduced the process of modernization during the second phase. second phase means from 1757 to 1857. Battle of Palasiru, Sepoy Mutiny. A period of modernization arambo hala. Modernization is always a positive thought. But here, modernization was conditional. Modernization was not introduced for us. Modernization was introduced because they colonized India, they wanted to exploit us, and for that some sort of modernization was needed. So that modernization was half-hearted, incomplete. जो modernization आम देश रे आम प्राइम मिनिस्टर आम चीफ मिनिस्टर आम पाई करिवे, that means agenda or the object were we the people. But during the time modernization began, but से जगह आम एजेंडा रे नथिले बा आम पूर्व पुरुष नथिले. Agenda was exploitation, or the objective was how to exploit more. So railway communication, postal network, legal system, English education, bureaucracy, civil service, army, all these were introduced. That is first. Second, administration ପାଇଁ ସେମାନେ integration ଆରମ୍ଭ କଲେ. Constitution making ନଥିଲା ସେତେବେଳେ, but administration ପାଇଁ legislative bodies ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଲା. Provincial 1919 act ଯଦି ପଢିବ, provincial legislative assemblies were introduced. 1909 act ରେ election introduce କରାଗଲା. Then 1935 act ଫଳରେ इंडिया जुडिशियल सिस्टम टा इंट्रोड्यूस होला, सुप्रीम कोर्ट आरंभ होला. एई जिनिस जो मॉडर्नाइजेशन से माने कले, प्रथम फेज रे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलप कले, द्वितीय फेज रे पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रक्चर डेवलप कले. एंड ड्यूरिंग दिस टू प्रोसेस दे वांटेड टू मॉडर्नाइज. तृतीय जिनिस क्रिश्चियनिटी स्प्रेड ड्यूरिंग दैट पीरियड, because Christianity is a minority community, it wanted always to expand itself. So जो Christianity spread करिबा आरंभ कला, भारत रे इक्वालिटी रो मेसेज आसिला, भारत रे लैंड रिफॉर्म हैला, प्राइवेट प्रॉपर्टी कांसेप्ट आसिला, भारत रे लीगल सिस्टम आसिला, भारत रे कांसेप्ट ऑफ राइट एंड लिबर्टी रो इंट्रोडक्शन हैला. ए सब जिंस क्लासिकल पॉलिटिकल थॉट रे नथिला. तेणु ब्रिटिश जेतेबेले निज पर्पस पाई मॉडर्नाइजेशन आरंभ कला, इनडायरेक्टली they encourage or they help, not exactly encourage, they help in the growth of political value. कारण political thought or the individual relationship, political thought or the articulation of political value. Political value नथिले political thought हेई परिबो नाही. तेणु एई political values जोटा कि classical political thought रे absent थिला, it started growing when the British were exploiting us. They indirectly help us in the articulation of all these values. ସେଇଟା ହେଲା ପ୍ରଥମ fact, ପ୍ରଥମ segment. ଦ୍ୱିତୀୟ segment ହେଲା role of the social reform. ତେଣୁ ଗୋଟିଏ chapter ଦେଖିବ social reformer ନେଇକି. ସେଇ social reformer ମାନଙ୍କର role ଟା 1857 to 1900 जोटा कहा जाए फेज ऑफ लव. ए फेज जो जगह की एक्टिविटी किसी प्रोमिनेंट नथिला, ए पीरियड रे जो सोशल रिफॉर्मर माने आसिले, दे वर एक्सपोज टू वेस्टर्न वैल्यूज. बहुत सोशल रिफॉर्मर माने वेस्ट एजुकेटेड हे करिथिले. दे इंट्रोड्यूस मॉडर्नाइजेशन, दे एनहांस, दे स्ट्रेंथन द प्रोसेस ऑफ मॉडर्नाइजेशन एंड दे ट्राई टू ब्रिज द division existed in the society, fought against social inequality, fought for women emancipation, fought for Hindu modernization. As I told you, classical Hindu tradition जोटा थिला, it had started decaying. तारो अधोपतन हैला जेतेबेले लेट वैदिक पीरियड हैला, जेतेबेले इस्लामिक इन्वेजन हैला, classical political thought had started decaying. तेणु modern political thought a social reformer मानंको द्वारा it had started growing again. तेणु एटा होची सेकंड फेज. थर्ड फेज ता होची रोल ऑफ द पॉलिटिकल लीडर. जेतेबेले पॉलिटिकल लीडर कहतो, पॉलिटिकल लीडर माने it had got several segments, बहुत प्रकार. जेतेबेले बहुत प्रकार पॉलिटिकल लीडर आसिले. There is a group called moderate. There was a group called extremists. Then there was a group called synthesizer led by Gandhi. There was another group called constitutionalists led by Patel. There was another group called socialists, Congress socialists, Jai Prakash Narayan. There was a group called communists. There was a subaltern group. There was a nationalist group led by Nehru. ए समस्त को ब्रॉड लाइन रे आमे कहि परिबा पॉलिटिकल लीडर तेणु ए पॉलिटिकल लीडर माने किपरि साहाय्य कले फॉर द ग्रोथ ऑफ मॉडर्न इंडियन पॉलिटिकल तेणु ए जो बैकग्राउंड ता कहि सारला परे तमे फोर्थ चैप्टर रे देखिबो वी हैव स्टार्टेड और वी विल स्टार्ट एनालाइजिंग रोल ऑफ मॉडरेट रोल ऑफ एक्सट्रीमिस्ट देन रोल ऑफ हिंदू पॉलिटिकल लीडर role of Hindutva, role of Islamic political thought, role of Congress socialist, role of communist political thought, contribution of Gandhi, then individual political thought, contribution of Gandhi, contribution of Nehru, and at the end there is a subaltern. कारण subaltern group माने तांकर contribution टा less होती, they have analyzed political thought from a different perspective, तांकर तांको गोटिए chapter रे रखा गला subaltern thinker. जेतेबेले आम यूज करूछु वर्ड थिंकर गोटे प्रश्न आसे आर दे थिंकर कारण गोटे थिंकर जेतेबेले कहूछो दे मस्ट एनालाइज इंडिविजुअल स्टेट रिलेशनशिप बाय कीपिंग एन ऑब्जेक्टिव इन माइंड ऑब्जेक्टिव ना वेस्टर्न सोसाइटी देखिबो ग्रीक पीरियड रे ऑब्जेक्टिव थिला गुड लाइफ मीडियम रे ऑब्जेक्टिव थिला साल्वेशन मॉडर्न पीरियड रे हॉब्स पाई ऑब्जेक्टिव हला राइट टू लाइफ लॉक पाई हला नेचुरल राइट यूटिलिटेरियन को पाई हला हैप्पीनेस कार्ल मार्क्स पाई हला कम्युनिस्ट सोसाइटी आम पाई सेमिति ऑब्जेक्टिव नाही आम पॉलिटिकल थिंकर्स मानकर गोटी ऑब्जेक्टिव थिला फ्रीडम स्ट्रगल एमांसिपेशन फ्रॉम कॉलोनाइजेशन सेति पाई गोटे क्वेश्चन मार्क आसे आमर पॉलिटिकल थिंकर माने आर दे थिंकर इन ट्रू सेंस ऑफ द टर्म Do they or have they analyzed individual state relationships by keeping an objective in mind? Have they analyzed political value like right, liberty, equality, justice? Probably not. Except Gandhi, you may not find a person who is so comprehensive in his analysis as in case of Western thinker. Gandhi ko pai imperialism का objective removal of imperialism objective नथिला सेतिपाई गांधी को आमे अलगा रखू गांधी जेतेबेले फ्रीडम स्ट्रगल अगेंस्ट द फाइट करथिले गांधींकर ऑब्जेक्टिव थिला सर्वोदय व राम राज्य so we could say that Gandhi could be called a thinker as in case of the West to some extent he might not be as systematic but he could be called a thinker and rest whether it is Savarkar or Golwalkar or Ramon Roy or Lohia kete prakar loko dekhucho and all of them can hardly be called a thinker. But anyhow, they have contributed significantly for the growth of modern Indian political thought. They have modernized Indian political thought by keeping the classical values intact. They borrowed Western values. They borrowed Western values, Western liberal values. जो society में individual important. जो सोसाइटी राइट इंपोर्टेंट जो सोसाइटी डेमोक्रेसी इंपोर्टेंट जो सोसाइटी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इंपोर्टेंट we have borrowed all these things from them because our leaders during that period went to England for their education. Further, British introduced English education in India also and we were exposed to their influence. तेणु सेटा होती प्रथम सेगमेंट वर्तमान एतिकी बैकग्राउंड को बर्तन तीन भाग में भाग कर देली मॉडर्न इंडियन पॉलिटिकल थॉट हैज ग्रोन ड्यू टू द ब्रिटिश ड्यू टू द सोशल रिफॉर्मर ड्यू टू द पॉलिटिकल लीडर तीन भाग में भाग कर दिया गला तेणु आमे प्रथमे आज आरंभ करिबा रोल ऑफ सोशल रिफॉर्मर व्हाट दे हैव कंट्रीब्यूटेड हाउ दे हैव कंट्रीब्यूटेड हु आर दे when did they come into existence come to the scenario social reformer they were in the picture in between 1857 to 1900 A period re only 1885 re Congress party came to the picture. So बाकी समझते थे social reform. Their objective was one. Most of them were exposed to Western values also. But से social reformer मानकु दी भागरे भाग करा जाए पारिबे. One, people like Ram Mohan Roy, तमे देखियो सेमान गोटा अलगा लेखा आइछि. People like Ram Mohan Roy who was exposed to Western values. People like Dayananda Saraswati and Vidyasagar who were exposed to Indian classical values. किंतु ସେମାନେ कौन करछन्ति whether they were exposed to west or exposed to Indian value, what they did for the growth of modern Indian political thought. सबुबेले ऑब्जेक्टिव टा मन रखिबो. ऑब्जेक्टिव टा होची modern Indian political definition of individual state relation. How did they contribute? ସେମାନେ ଯେତେବେଳେ contribute କଲେ ସେମାନେ ଭାବି नथिले ସେମାନେ political thought ଲେଖୁଛନ୍ତି. Because the situation, imagine karo 1857 to 1900, situation was not so mature that people would sit down and write a political treatise like Leviathan and Hobbes or print as Machiavelli. Situation was very fluid. We were under British rule. Then to say period, we came across important political social reformer or not political social reformer like Ram Mohan Roy, जोड़ा तुम्हारा कोर्स describe है कि Dayananda Saraswati, Bankim Chandra, Vidyasagar, and Phule, Jyotiba Phule. All of them were distinct in their country. Ram Mohan Roy was exposed to Western influence. He considered we should appreciate the Western value and accordingly try to reform Indian political tradition or Hindu tradition. Because in the late Vedic tradition, Hindu tradition started decaying. Classical Hindu tradition में caste system नथिला, idol worship नथिला. All these things began in late Vedic period. So idol worship आरंभ होला, women exploitation आरंभ होला, budget system आरंभ होला. We started getting fossilized in the late Vedic period. That is the beginning of the decline of the Indian political thought. Senator Ram Mohan Roy wanted to reinvigorate Indian political tradition by infusing the new blood because he was exposed to Western influence. He told that he introduced a new thing that let us reform Hindu religion. He read Christianity, he read Islamic religion, he read Hindu and wanted to reform Hindu religion. So he wanted to get rid of the caste prejudices, caste exploitation, inequality. Secondly, he wanted to introduce press in India. He introduced the concept of right in India. आम एत बड़ पर्यंत ब्रिटिश मान राइट कथा शुणुचु. For the first time, a social reformer who belonged to India, he emphasized upon rights of individuals. Right, he talked about separation of executive from legislature. This is the contribution to political thought. जो time रे executive legislature separation नथिला. Ram Mohan Roy told about separation of executive from legislature. He talked about freedom of press. He abolished suffrage. So he talked about equality. So if we remember Ram Mohan Roy today for his contribution to modern political thought, we remember him for his contribution, for his articulation of concept of right, for his parity of status between male and female, equality, for his contribution to segregation of executive from judicial. This is the contribution of Ram Mohan Roy, who was exposed to the West, who was influenced by the Western people. But at the same time, he did not borrow it as it is. He wanted to reform the classical decaying Indian political tradition. Then came Dayananda Saraswati. He is still different. Why? He did not appreciate Western. just the opposite of Ramon Roy. He did not appreciate Western values because he emphasized upon Vedic literature. Vedic means classical Hindu period. We talked about classical because late Vedic period had become deformed. So he talked going back to Veda. He gave a call. Let us go back to Veda. That means early Greek period, early Vedic period, where caste system existed on the basis of functional specialization, where Dalit system did not exist, where women were given importance. So Dayananda Saraswati, while criticizing women exploitation, caste untouchability, he was not inspired by Western civilization as in case of Dayananda Saraswati. He was inspired by classical Hindu tradition. That's why I said there is a continuity. ସବୁବେଳେ ସେ ପଛଡ଼ା ଫେରି ଆସୁଛି classical Hindu tradition. Then came Vidyasagar, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. He fought for women education. He was instrumental in abolishing child marriage. ଯେମିତି ଆମେ ରାମମୋହନ ରୟକୁ ମନେ ରଖୁଛୁ for his contribution to abolition of sati practice. ବିଦ୍ୟାସାଗରକୁ ମନେ ରଖୁଛୁ for girls education. କାରଣ ତମେ ମନେ ରଖ ବ୍ରିଟିଶ ମାନେ ଭାରତରେ ଏଜୁକେସନ ଇଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଡ୍ୟୁସ କଲେ. You will be surprised to know. Initially ସେମାନେ କହିଲେ ସମସ୍ତେ ଏଜୁକେସନ ପାଇବା କଥା. କିନ୍ତୁ they did not talk about women education. They did not talk about peasant education. They did not talk about lower class education. କାରଣ ସେମାନେ ଜାଣିଲେ lower class educated ହେଲେ ମାନେ there might be another resistance. ତ ଅଳ୍ପ ସଂଖ୍ୟକ educated ହୁଅନ୍ତୁ ତାଙ୍କର ହେଲ୍ପରେ ଦେଶ ଶାସନ କରାଯାଇ ପାରିବ. So they had an agenda to educate us to become a clerk only, not to become civil servant. We should be clerk. That much of education should be there. And women should not be given education. British told where education for women was open. They introduced education where provision for education, women education was not there. So Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar fought for it. So he contributed in bringing parity of status. Then we had Jyotiba Phule, who talked about Dalit emancipation. Social reform means Dalit emancipation. Then last but not the least, we had Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, who talked about concept of Hindu community. ପ୍ରଥମ ଥର ପାଇଁ ଜଣେ ବ୍ୟକ୍ତି ଯେତେବେଳେ ବନ୍ଦେ ମାତରମ୍ କହୁଛି, ତମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ବନ୍ଦେ ମାତରମ୍ର ପିକ୍ଚର ଦେଖୁଛ, ତମେ ଦେଖିବ ଭାରତର ଇଣ୍ଡିଆ ମ୍ୟାପରେ ଗୋଟେ ଦୁର୍ଗାଙ୍କର ପିକ୍ଚର. Durga means she belongs to Hindu mythology. So for the first time, nationalism started growing in terms of Hindu community. So the social reformer, I want to wind up the fourth chapter now. What is their contribution to political thought? These social reformer contributed to Indian political thought in a different manner. Some of them were influenced to export to West. Some of them went back to classical Hindu period. Some of them were Jyotiba Phule was inspired by Karl Marx. Imagine karo samoy se samare Karl Marx was inspired. They tried to bridge the social gap because at the time society was a divided house. There was a gap between Brahmin and Kshatriya. There was a Dalit. Male-female disparity was there. Caste system was there. Untouchability was there. So many division was there. So the social reformer, in two words I would like to wind up here. The social reformer initiated a dialogue on political value like equality, right and liberty. I am using the word initiated a dialogue. आरंभ है नहीं. आरंभ कले a dialogue. Dialogue means discussion on political value. That is their country. They bridged the social gap. They made the people aware that we are equal. ଯେମିତି French revolution ହେଲା, ଲୋକମାନେ କହିଲେ ଆମେ ସମସ୍ତେ ସମାନ. ତେଣୁ ଏଇ social reformer ମାନେ equality କଥା କହିଲେ, ଯୋଉଟା କି ଟିକେ ଭିନ୍ନ. Karan Indian political tradition, classical political tradition is known for its inegalitarian character or inequality. ଆମର ଆଗର ଇକ୍ୱାଲିଟି ନଥିଲା. We were known by inequality. Late Vedic period is full of inequality. ସେଇଟାର ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ ଏମାନେ by infusing those values. ସମସ୍ତେ ବ୍ରିଟିଶ ମାନଙ୍କ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଇନଫ୍ଲୁଏନ୍ସ ହୁଅ. ଦୟାନନ୍ଦ ସରସ୍ୱତୀ, ବିଦ୍ୟାସାଗର ପରି ଲୋକ କ୍ଲାସିକାଲ ଟ୍ରାଡିସନରେ ଇନ୍ସପାୟାର୍ଡ ହେଲେ. So there is a continuity. I am coming to the conclusion. ସବୁ ଚାପ୍ଟରର ଏଣ୍ଡରେ କହିବି. There is a continuity. How the continuity? Am I clear or not? So this is the first phase. Then we are entering into the second phase. भारत freedom struggle टा बहुत complicated. Very complicated. If you have understood this thing, ସେଥିପାଇଁ ମୁଁ କହେ it is a mixture of history and political science. And very often your course ଯିଏ conduct କରୁଛନ୍ତି, he says he belongs to physics. We belong to political science. Now there is a segregation always. ମୁଁ classroom ରେ ଏଇ କଥା କହେ ସବୁବେଳେ. When there is a dialogue, discussion in university, natural science, it may be physics, it may be chemistry, biology. In a society, our mindset is like that. We say they are superior. People scoring 99% marks, they are taking physics. Less chemistry, less biology, less biology, etc. And those who do not get this, they come to history, political science. I would say it is wrong. Why wrong? Because you are reading so many subjects at a time. Economics, political science, sociology, history, all combined together. This is called humanity. So I say, student of humanity, if you read, I am using the word, if you read, you will be more mature than people of natural science, who are either confined to one domain or other. So, during this process, we are passing through so many, we are not political thought only. I am talking about socio-cultural impact of social culture, society and culture on the growth of Indian political thought. So this is the background, the contribution of freedom fighters who wanted to initiate a dialogue on equality, freedom, parity of status, women's freedom, etc., etc. And all were not brought from the West, something we have borrowed from our own tradition also. Then 1885 came. Indian National Congress was formed. Why it was formed? It was formed as a safety valve. ଯେତେବେଳେ के प्रेशर कुकर बसैଛ बा ଯେତେବେଳେ फ्लाइट रे जाउଛ, there is this emergency door. बस रे जाउଛ, there is an emergency door. तो किसी प्रॉब्लम हेले एक्सीडेंसी हेले गोटे डोर टे अछि टू मेक to for your smooth evacuation. Just like that, your Indian National Congress was created as a safety valve. Who formed? British initiated to form Indian National Congress. Why? What was the necessity of forming a political organization? ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଆମେ social reform ରୁ political organization को आसिले, political thought. Political organization was formed because of British thought that because during civil society, during civil movement, people had resisted, we could not rule out a possibility of another resistance. Resistance भविष्य भी हेई पारे, तेणु resistance को avoid करिबा लागि let us give you some incentive ଯାହାକୁ ଆମେ ओडिया शुद्ध ओडिया ଆମେ କହିବା लॉलीपॉप. हमको ଗୋଟେ लॉलीपॉप धरे दिया गला छुआको, छुआ कांदिबो नहीं. So it was introduced in that way. ताकू इंग्रजी रे आमे कहू safety valve mechanism, so that people would not resist. সেই Indian National Congress ର ପ୍ରଥମ first segment leader को कहा गला moderate. এই फेज को कहा जाउची departure. एरो एनिकु आमे एंटर कलु गोटे नुआ फेज रो पॉलिटिकल थॉट रो ताकू कहा जाउची departure. माने वर्तमान सोशल रिफॉर्मर माने जहा कहिले आम से टिके दूरेबा डिपार्ट करवा ना ये जो लोक माने इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस लीडर थे दादा भाई नावरोजी सुरेंद्र नाथ बनर्जी फिरोज शाह मेहता all of them were English educated. They were loyal to the British authority. They wanted British to stay in India. You know, concept of nationalism was not there. मन रख नेशनलिज्म वर्तमान आसीना ही आम फ्रीडम फाइट करना नेशनलिज्म जदि नहीं स्टेट नहीं पॉलिटिकल थॉट ऑफ इंडिविजुअल स्टेट रिलेशन ये पीरियड रे स्टेट आमर नुह वी वर रेगुलेटेड बाय समबडी एल्स तेणु ए जो पीरियड रे ए जो लोक मानकर ना कहती दे आर इंग्लिश एजुकेटेड दे आर लॉयल टू द ब्रिटिश they wanted that British should remain in India because they introduced so many positive things ताकू कहि से माने कहले ब्रिटिश कंट्रीब्यूशन को कहा जाय पारिबो डिवाइन डिस्पेंसेशन they were so they contributed so much for the growth of Indian political tradition ताकू कहा जाय पारिबो डिवाइन डिस्पेंसेशन डिवाइन जस्टिस को माने कर ताहले मनकर कंट्रीब्यूशन कोन दे कंट्रीब्यूटेड कारण एई लोक माने भारत रे प्रथम थर पाए कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन सिखाइले जो एलिमेंट गुडा को कहूची लेखिर व्हाट वाज देयर कंट्रीब्यूशन टू मॉडर्न पॉलिटिकल they started mobilizing people in a constitutional manner they said let us protest against the British by making prayer or giving petition रेजिस्ट करबा ना शांतिपूर्ण भाव रे हमें ऑर्गेनाइज करी मागिबा कारण देशे ब्रिटिश शुड रिमेन इन इंडिया बट मोर एंड मोर पीपल शुड बी इन्वॉल्व इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन तेणु गोटे ऑब्जेक्टिव समय रखिले ऑब्जेक्टिव ता हैला भारत रे बेसी बेसी लोक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में भागीदार हो एंड दे तांकर सेकंड कंट्रीब्यूशन हैला दे एक्सपोज the exploitation of the British also. दादा भाई नावरोजी से बही लिखिले ब्रिटिश एक्सप्लॉयटेशन कथा भी लिखिले तेणु एई मॉडरेट्स माने जो माने पिटिशन प्रेयर करी ब्रिटिश मानक रोकू बोली चाहते एमानकर कंट्रीब्यूशन फॉर मॉडर्न पॉलिटिकल थॉट कोन सेटा दादा भाई नावरोजी हो सुरेंद्रनाथ बनर्जी हो बा फिरोज शाह मेहता हो नंबर 1 कंट्रीब्यूशन पॉलिटिकल मोबिलाइजेशन सिखाए एते दिन जाए पॉलिटिकल मोबिलाइजेशन नथिला प्रथम थर पाए कांग्रेस पार्टी वाज डेवलप्ड एज ए पॉलिटिकल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को ऑर्गेनाइज करेले अगेंस्ट ब्रिटिश बट इन ए पीसफुल मैनर ताकू कहा गला कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल स्ट्रेटजी सिखेले पिटिशन ऑफ प्रेयर कहला पीसफुल मैनर रे प्रोटेस्ट करिबा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल टेक्निक these were borrowed from the west तृतीय जिनस सेमाने लोकों को आर्टिकुलेशन सिखाइले हाउ टू रेज वॉइस सेही कथा सिखे तेनु जेतेबेले एई फेज रो कंट्रीब्यूशन हम मने पकेबा मने रखो देयर ऑब्जेक्टिव व्हाट वाज देयर ऑब्जेक्टिव वाज एसोसिएशन ऑफ द इंडियंस इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन व्हाट वाज देयर टेक्निक वाज मेकिंग प्रेयर or doing petition, giving petition. Then what was their contribution? Contribution was कौन से माने contribute कले political organization सिखाइले constitutional strategy सिखाइले and लोगों को right liberty विषय aware करे. So this is the first step. This is the departure प्रथम segment है role of moderate. ए चैप्टर ओपन करिवो तमे देखिबो से जगह लिखा है दादा भाई नावरोजी सुरेंद्रनाथ बनर्जी मॉडरेट्स बोली लिखा है तेणु मॉडरेट्स मानकर कंट्रीब्यूशन ता अल्प बट इंपोर्टेंट कारण कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म इज एन इंपोर्टेंट कंट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ दिस ग्रुप बट इट डिड नॉट सस्टेन काहे कि ए पीरियड रे ब्रिटिश मो बारंबार कहूची ब्रिटिश व्हाइल रूलिंग केवल भल जिन इंट्रोड्यूस करना while colonizing they adopted several divisive policies also. For example देवी बेंगल पार्टीशन 1905 रे बेंगल पार्टीशन हैला because they did not want that there should be education. University Act अणा गला to silence people. Then Arms Act अणा गला जहा द्वारा कि भारतीय माने आर्म्स कैरी करि परिबे नाही किंतु विदेशी वाला आर्म्स कैरी करि परिबे निजर प्रोटेक्शन पाए. Then जालियानवाला बाग मैसकर এই सब जो important develop in the first decade of 20th century हैला. This gave birth to rise of another wing within the Congress तांको कुआगला extremist. A extremist group रो leader थे तिलक. So Tilak wanted to raise voice. He developed a he said तांकर objective बदली गला. Objective और रहिला नहीं जे भारत रे सेमाने रहंतु भारतीय मानकर एसोसिएशन प्रथम थर पाई स्वराज वार्ता आर्टिकुलेटेड. स्वराज इज माय बर्थराइट कहले स्वाधीनतार प्रथम सिंबल एई पीरियड रे आरंभ होला. नेशनलिज्म रो बेस एथर आरंभ होला. स्वराज इज माय बर्थराइट बोली कहले. तेनो he demanded or the extremists demanded British must leave India. Indians are capable enough to rule themselves. How? There are two things called inner domain and outer domain. Last class we कहली. Outer domain means growth in terms of materialism. Inner domain माने होती growth in terms of your spirituality. So if we are capable of, in terms of inner domain, we could rule ourselves. There is no need for presence of British in India. So Swaraj is my birthright. What technique he adopted? Passive resistance. Passive resistance means educational technique was introduced. Vartaman hai education asti sakela. So what was the contribution of these people then? These people introduced concept of nationalism. These people introduced concept of constitutionalism. These people introduced political awareness. So this is the contribution of the express. So दुटा ग्रुप का कथा जानिले. गोटी है डिपार्चर जेते बेले हमें पढुते. प्रथम हमें डिपार्चर स्टेज है. प्रथमटा हैला मॉडरेट जो माने कि भारत रे ब्रिटिश मानकर ग्लोरीफाई करूथिले वर्शिप करूथिले बट एट द सेम टाइम इंडियन माने एसोसिएटेड हो तो करिले ब्रिटिश हम प्रेयर कले से माने लोगों को पॉलिटिकली कॉन्शियस करेले इन ए पीसफुल मैनर. जेते बेले ब्रिटिश रिवाइवलिस्ट माने आसिले बा एक्सट्रीमिस्ट माने आसिले इट इज ए फॉर्म ऑफ रिवाइवलिज्म. अगेन दे वांट टू गो बैक टू क्लासिकल हिंदू वेदर. बारंबार को क्लासिकल हिंदू पीरियड को माने पड़े थे. तिलक स्टार्टेड मेकिंग आइडल गणेश मूर्ति to organize people. Classical Hindu हेलु को यूज करा गला. क्लासिकल हिंदू ट्रेडिशन को कुआ गला. स्पिरिचुअलिज्म कुआ गला. तेनो हिंदुत्व रो रिवाइवलिज्म हैला ए पीरियड. But they demanded nationalism. That is the contribution of extremists for the political thought. कारण nationalism no हले state आसिबो नाही. Now, what is the side effect of this extremist growth? एई एक्सट्रीमिस्ट मानकर आविर्भाव हवा फल रे भारत रे दुईटा कैटेगरी रे लोक आसे. गोटे हला हिंदू पॉलिटिकल थॉट, आरटा हला हिंदुत्व पॉलिटिकल थॉट, थर्ड हला इस्लामिक पॉलिटिकल. तीन जनकर आविर्भाव हला तीनटा चैप्टर. हिंदू पॉलिटिकल थॉट, हिंदुत्व पॉलिटिकल थॉट, इस्लामिक पॉलिटिकल. तेणु बर्तमान जाना आम मेनस्ट्रीम पॉलिटिकल थिंकर को आसीना. मेनस्ट्रीम थिंकर कहले आम गांधी को बुझाऊ. गांधी आसीना. गांधी आसे 1915 आम गांधी पर्यंत आसीना. ए जो रिवाइवलिस्ट माने आसिले, रिवाइवलिस्ट माने दे टॉक्स अबाउट क्लासिकल हिंदू पीरियड. क्लासिकल हिंदू मानकर व्यू को ग्लोरीफाई करबा आरंभ कले. किंतु तांको पर्पसटा कोन थिला? तांको पर्पसटा थिला जे टू यूनिफाई द पीपल ऑफ इंडिया let us talk about all classical value so that we could organize the Indians against the British. ତେଣୁ ତିଲକ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଗଣେଶ ବର୍ଷିପ ଆରମ୍ଭ କଲେ ପର୍ପସଟା କମ୍ୟୁନାଲ ଟେଣ୍ଡେନ୍ସି ନଥିଲା, ପର୍ପସଟା ଥିଲା to organize the people of India during that period. I am talking about early part of 20th century. So we could not say or we should not say Tilak was a communalist. किंतु ये जो हिंदू इंटरप्रिटेशन आरंभ है यार subsequent growth है in the writing of Vivekananda and Aurobindo. A period रे Vivekananda and Aurobindo they gave further shape to Hindu line of thinking. ସେମାନଙ୍କୁ କିନ୍ତୁ ହିନ୍ଦୁତ୍ୱ କୁହାଯାଏ ନାହିଁ, ସେମାନଙ୍କୁ କୁହାଯାଏ Hindu political thought. There is a difference between Hindu political thinker and Hindutva political thinker. जो माने Hindu political thinker ସେମାନେ ମୁସଲିମ ମାନଙ୍କ ବିଷୟରେ ସାଇଲେଣ୍ଟ ରୁହନ୍ତି ବା ମୁସଲିମ ମାନେ ଭାରତରେ ଚାଲି ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ କୁହନ୍ତି ନାହିଁ। ଯୋଉମାନେ ହିନ୍ଦୁତ୍ୱ political thinker they want to grow at the cost of the Muslim. So there is a difference between Hindu political thinker and Hindutva political thinker. So the next chapter is Hindu political thinker in the hand of Vivekananda and Aurobindo. Vivekananda was not part of Congress. He was a social reformer. He was a disciple of Ramakrishna Paramahansa. His objective was one, to reform the Hindu religion, which had declined over a period of time. But Vivekananda said, as long as the British remained in India, we would not be able to reform Hindu religion the way we like. So he talked about two things. One, spiritualism, which was told by classical Hindu period, and to ensure spiritualism, British must leave India because he did not like materialism. He said materialism is good in the West, so British had come to India for their own materialistic growth. India did not want, so British must leave India. So Vivekananda को बहुत जन nationalist बोले भी कहते। Nationalist माने he contributed for the growth of for the evolution of Indian political or Indian state. But basic जिनको कहा जाए Vivekananda he reformed Hindu religion. He spread the message of fraternity. He talked about all over spread the message of fraternity. He talked about internationalism. That people all over the world, they all are same. So the segregation of nation states, that is one state, England, France, Germany, India, all these were rubbish according to Vivekananda. World is a community, we all are brothers and sisters. So he spread the message of equality and fraternity, political value of the equality. But at the same time, he said this would be possible in India only if the British left or if British was living in India. So he was a nationalist, he was an internationalist, he was a supporter of classical political thought. He revised the Hindu political thought. He fought against caste exploitation, which was there in the political thought since the late British. So he continued. Then another political thinker, Aurobindo. Aurobindo was part of the extremist group. He was a member of Indian National Congress. He believed in violence. He was making peaceful. He made peaceful resistance against the British. But when he was in prison, he left the Congress and became a priest and talked about reforming Hindu religion. So like Vivekananda, Aurobindo also talked about new Vedanta philosophy, where he wanted to reform the Hindu religion against caste practices, against untouchability, against inequality, against corruption. So Hindu political thought, whether it is that of Vivekananda or it is Aurobindo, how they have contributed to modern Indian culture. They contributed by reviving the classical Indian political values that man is moral, man is spiritual, man is not materialistic. Society should be plural, state should be limited. If you read the political idea of Aurobindo, Aurobindo said we want a state which should be limited by nature. We do not want a powerful state like as professed by Hitler or as we find in China or Russia. States should be less powerful. There must be democracy. Why? Because individual is mature, individual is spiritual. ତମର objective ଯେତେବେଳେ spiritual ହବ, ତମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ selfish ରହିବ ନାହିଁ, ତମେ you can take care of yourself. So these two people wanted, they talked about moral individuals, they talked about plural society, they talked about limited state. এই জায়গায় Aurobindo contributed further by talking about democracy. ଭାରତରେ democracy ନଥିଲା. Classical Indian political tradition, we had monarch. Monarch was limited by nature. କିନ୍ତୁ ରାଜା ଥିଲେ. We were modernized during the modernization process when we came contact with British people. ଆଉ ରାଜା କଥା ଭାରତରେ ରାଜା ମାନେ ସେତେବେଳେ princely states ଥିଲେ ମଧ୍ୟ. We were not prepared to remain under monarchy anymore. Aurobindo talked about nature of democracy. For the first time, a political thinker in India talked about democratic governance. State must be ruled by people. Democratically, government must be elected. Government, if it fails to fulfill the rights of, fulfill the objective of the people, that is the spiritual growth. Our right liberty kuhajaw, spiritual growth, that government had no power to remain in power. So we remember the Hindu political. They modernized their country. Then came the Hindutva, Golwalkar and Savarkar. During this period, because of the Hindutva line of thinking, राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ वर्तमान समय जो बीजेपी पार्टी के तार आइडियोलॉजी RSS had come into being as a think tank. RSS political party. RSS ର କାମ ହେଉଛି ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରାକୁ ସେପ୍ ଦେବା. ନୂଆ ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରା ଆସିଲା. କୋଉ ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରା? ହିନ୍ଦୁ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲିଜମ. ଯୋଉଟା long back ବିବେକାନନ୍ଦ ବଙ୍କିମ ଚନ୍ଦ୍ର concept in a rudimentary form. It was given shape by Golwalkar and Savarkar. What is the difference between the two again? Savarkar was inspired by the Western system. ଯେମିତି ରାମମୋହନ ରୟ ଦୟାନନ୍ଦ ସରସ୍ୱତୀ. Rammohn Roy was Western inspired, Savarkar was inspired by the classical system. Dayananda Saraswati. Just like that, Savarkar was inspired by the Western rationality. Hindu dharma rahibo, but it should be a rational religion, superstition rahibo nahi. He emphasized upon Hindu religion. Hindu community. We all belong to Hindu community. But that Hindu community should not have any superstition. That is the contribution of Savarkar. But Savarkar talked about cultural Hindu religion at the cost of Muslim people. କାରଣ ସେତେବେଳେ ମୁସଲିମ ଲିଗ ଫର୍ମ ହେଇ ସାରି ସାରିଲାଣି 1906ରେ. ମୁସଲିମ ମାନଙ୍କର ଏକ୍ଜିଷ୍ଟେନ୍ସ ଭାରତରେ ଭିଜିବୁଲ ହେଇ ସାରିଥିଲାଣି. ତେଣୁ Savarkar did not appreciate the existence of the Muslim. ତେଣୁ ଏଇ ଲୋକଙ୍କର ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରାକୁ ହିନ୍ଦୁତ୍ୱ କୁହାଯାଉଛି. ହିନ୍ଦୁତ୍ୱ thought. Hindutva means a line of thought which loves the Hindu community in an obsessive manner. Obsessive माने जरूरत से बेसी. तार किसी लॉजिक नहीं. तमे निजको एते मात्रा में भल पाइबो जे अलगार एक्जिस्टेंस ताको भाजा obsessive love. So Hindutva is a obsessive line of thinking which believes, which wanted to glorify cultural Hindutva at the cost of other communities. ଯେତେବେଳେ other community କୁହାଯାଉଛି ଏଇ ଜାଗାରେ Islamic community ହିଁ କୁହାଯାଉଛି. But Savarkar was inspired by the classical history, like Bankim Chandra, like Tilak. He was not inspired by Western. So be it Savarkar or be it Golwalkar, they gave a new dimension to Indian political thought. For the first time, Indian political thought got the representation in the form of Hindu religion, which was not there earlier, so it was a point of departure. It was a point of departure. It was a decline. It was a negative thing. এই ପିରିୟଡ ରେ ଡିପାର୍ଚର ଗୋଟେ ଏକାତ୍ରରେ ରିଭାଇଭାଲିଷ୍ଟ ହେଲା ଯେ it gave birth to Islamic politics, resulting in partition of India. But it made us aware, positive, ଆମେ ସବୁବେଳେ positive କଣ negative ଜିନିଷ କଣ ଜାଣିବା. It made us aware of our cultural heritage, rich cultural heritage विषୟରେ हमको aware करेले. जहाँ बेसिस रे गोटे nationalism grow करे. Nationalism means गोटे bonding, गोटे fellow feeling, गोटे feeling, subjective feeling, which says we belong to one country, one culture, one history, one language, etc., etc. We all are Indian. So एमाने जेतेबेले कहले we all are Indian, they were thinking of the Hinduism. तेणु तांको चिंताधारा को हिंदुत्व थॉट कहावे. So it was a departure. Earlier I would say departure कथा कहितली जे सोशल रिफॉर्मर माने जेतेबेले आसिले ସେମାନେ କହୁଥିଲେ सोशल एजेंडा जे जातिगत वर्णगत डिविजन रहइबो नाही. जेतेबेले मॉडरेट विंग आसिले एक्सट्रीमिस्ट विंग आसिले वर्तमान एजेंडा पॉलिटिकल हे गेला. हमर एजेंडा हैला फ्रीडम स्ट्रगल. तेणु सेतेबेले नारी मुक्ति कथा कहीं कहले नहीं, पीजेड डेवलपमेंट कहले नहीं. तो यही सब इश्यू गुड़ाक इट स्टार्टेड एरोडिंग ताकू दिया जाए पॉइंट ऑफ डिपार्चर. तेणु यही फेज रो ना रे डिपार्चर दिया गला काहे दिया जाउछि. डिपार्चर आरंभ होछि मॉडरेट विंग थारु. नंबर 1 रीजन that we had become political. Earlier we were not political. द्वितीयतः we forgot the social issues which are also quite clear. तृतीयतः we became religious. In the hand of Hindutva, we became religious. तो ताको कुहागला point of departure. ए हिंदुत्व मानक पाई गोटे इस्लामिक पॉलिटिकल थॉट आवे. Now it would be wrong to say जे केवल हिंदुत्व पाई इस्लामिक माने प्रोमिनेंस को आसी. भारत रे जेतेबेले सिक्योरिटी हैला देखो जेतेबेले पॉलिटिकल थॉट करूचो तब ऑनगोइंग सोशल एंड इकोनॉमिक एंड कल्चरल प्रोसेस जानिबा को बाध्य वेदर यू लाइक और नॉट. तेनो जेतेबेले भारत रे सिक्योरिटी हैला it was a shock to the British authority. It started following the policy of divide and rule. दुईटा कम्युनिटी थिले हिंदू एंड मुस्लिम. They fought together during separation. So in order to remain in India, British wanted to follow the policy of divide and rule policy. It first it supported the Hindu and said for the separation कारण सेतबेले मुस्लिम राजा थिले मोगल एम्परर मानकर लास्ट राजा सेपरेशन रे फाइट करते. तो मोगल माने रेस्पॉन्सिबल, मुस्लिम माने रेस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द separation. Now Muslim community is a small community in India. It's a conservative community. It's an orthodox community. तेणु हिंदू मुस्लिम यदि कंपेयर करिवो एजुकेशनली इकोनॉमिकली सेतेबेले भी वी करथिले वर्तमान भी समान वी माइनॉरिटी सारे सेतेबेले भी माइनॉरिटी. तेणु when the British authorities started promoting the Hindu, the Muslim became more apprehensive. এই সময়ে এই সোশিয়াল রিফর্মর যেতেବେଳେ বঙ্কিম চন্দ্র ଆଉ ଦୟାନନ୍ଦ ସରସ୍ୱତୀ ଥିଲେ ସେତେବେଳେ ଦୁଇଟା ମୁସଲିମ ସୋସିଆଲ ରିଫର୍ମର ବି ଆସିଥିଲେ. ସେମାନେ ସୋସିଆଲ ରିଫର୍ମର ବିଷୟରେ ହିସାବରେ ଯେତିକି ସେମାନଙ୍କୁ ଆମେ ନ ଜାଣୁ ସେମାନଙ୍କୁ ଇସଲାମିକ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥଟ୍ର ପାୟୋନିୟର ହିସାବରେ ସେତିକି ଜାଣିବା। କାହିଁକି? ସେମାନଙ୍କ ନାଁ ହେଲା ସईद अहमद खान एंड योर व्हाट इज हिज नेम, सारे जहां से अच्छा किए लिखना भूल जाती ना, आई एम फॉरगेटिंग हिज नेम। So two pioneers were there. I will tell them. So this Said Ahmad Khan and the other person, they found that Muslims were lagging behind. So let us make the Muslim educated. So they would be as educated as Hindu. So Said Ahmad Khan established the Aligarh Muslim University for the secular education. For the education of all, not only Muslim, all would be educated. English education would be given to all. Now, during this period, they were not thinking against the Hindus. They were thinking that British were ruling us, means both Hindus and Muslims together. After 1900, 20th century, during the initial part of the 20th century, the British started promoting the Muslims. In 1906, your Muslim League was formed with the support of the British. So, by 1920, Muslim community emerged as a prominent force in India. What was the reason? Number one reason, British supported, promoted them to counter the Hindu. ଯେମିତି ପ୍ରଥମେ ହିନ୍ଦୁକୁ ସପୋର୍ଟ କଲେ ମୁସଲିମକୁ କାଉଣ୍ଟର କରିବା ଲାଗି, ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ମୁସଲିମକୁ ସପୋର୍ଟ କଲେ ହିନ୍ଦୁକୁ କାଉଣ୍ଟର କରିବା। ଏବଂ ଦ୍ୱିତୀୟ ରିଜନ ହେଲା, when Tilak started talking about Ganesh festival, when Golwalkar and Savarkar talked about Hindutva, this Islamic community, being a small community, became apprehensive. And they started articulating about Islamic political thought. So, এই পিরিয়ডে जो political thinker মানে আসলে Said Ahmad Khan like who were earlier staunch nationalists, they became different because situation got changed. ତେଣୁ Islamic political thought ର contribution କହିଲେ, initially they were secular. They wanted to spread secular education. They wanted to spread the message of Islam. But negative कहले, as in case of Hindutva political thought, Islamic political thought focused upon religion, introduced a communal component in the Indian political thought, which was not there. ତେଣୁ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଯାଏ ତମେ ମାନେ ପଢିଲ, କୋଉ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ପଢିଛ? ତମେ ମାନେ you are talking about role of social reformer, role of moderates for the Indian political thought, role of extremists for the contribution of Indian political thought, role of your Hindu political thought, role of Hindutva political thought, role of Islamic political thought. এই পিরিয়ড রে রিভলিউশনারি মানଙ୍କର ବି ଆବିର୍ଭାବ ହେଇଥିଲା, like Bhagat, who were part of the freedom struggle, wanted to drive out the opposition. It was a point of departure again. Bhagat Singh's contribution ହେଲା, he made the people conscious about the exploitative strategy of the British. British ମାନେ exploit କରୁଥିଲେ. Bhagat Singh made us aware. But Bhagat Singh introduced the component of violence which was not there earlier. Again a point of departure. Classical Hindu political thought of violence. So Bhagat Singh and the Hindutva, Savarkar and Golwalkar, they focused upon violence. Then came another line of thinking, communist political thought. कम्युनिस्ट 1917 रशिया रे आरंभ होला एई समय काल बोल्शेविक रिवोल्यूशन है लेनिन क्लास स्ट्रगल करे एवं कम्युनिस्ट स्टेट एस्टाब्लिश कले थ्रू वायलेंस एंड ही गेव ए क्लॉज that ratarati exploitation will come to an end all over the world if you follow the communist strategy. Communist strategy means making a class struggle by forming a communist class. कहा अगेंस्ट फाइट करिवो भारत रे सेते बेले दुईटा एनिमी बोली समान कहे वन एक्सटर्नल एनिमी ब्रिटिश इंपीरियलिज्म द्वितीय इंटरनल एनिमी फ्यूडल लॉर्ड जमींदार उभय भारतीयों को शोषण करे so in 1925 communist party was formed. A new line of thinking was introduced by M.N. Roy Namboodiripad. It is again a point of departure because class struggle was introduced. Because we did not have anything called class earlier. Class means organization of the society in the name of property, rich and poor. A division भारत में नथिला. That class component को है. So society को दुई भाग में विभक्त करिबा एवं poor माने rich मानकर against class struggle करिबा through communist party. Through violence. It was introduced by the communist party. So point of departure. तेणु भगत सिंह भायोलेंस कहले हिंदुत्व भायोलेंस कहले कम्युनिस्ट भायोलेंस कहले इन डिफरेंट मैनर भगत सिंह नो भायोलेंस थिला स्पोराडिक भायोलेंस माने बुझो तमे बम पके देला तो लोकडे उडी गला हियर एंड देयर यूजिंग भायोलेंस ताकि कहते स्पोराडिक भायोलेंस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन नथिला he wanted to terrorize the British administration by using violence से violence टा organized form रे नथिला ताको organization द कलर देले हिंदुत्व माने जेतबे कहले हिंदू पॉलिटिकल आइडियोलॉजी मोस्ट पॉपुलर पॉलिटिकल आइडियोलॉजी जार की टेरिटोरियल सेग्रीगेशन नाही भारत भीतर तमने सीमितमय रही पारंती it is a cultural nationalism Hindu might be in America it might be in England it might be in Africa they belong to one category ताको कहला Hindu cultural nationalism which was not confined to any territory they glorified use of violence in an organization तृतीय तौर जेतबेले कम्युनिस्ट माने भारत को आसीते because 1917 रे रशिया रे क्लास स्ट्रगल ता द्वारा इंस्पायर्ड है भारतीय लोक माने एमएन रॉय लाइक लोक बिकॉज़ दे ऑब्जर्व भारत रे दुई प्रकार स्ट्रगल चल एक ब्रिटिश माने स्ट्रगल करछंती द्वितीय तो जमींदार माने स्ट्रगल करछंती एक्सप्लॉइट करछंती सपोर्टेड बाय द ब्रिटिश तो चेन को ब्रेक करबा को वी हैव टू फाइट अगेंस्ट द ब्रिटिश वी हैव टू फाइट against the British and the feudal law. So communists talk about abolition of class component. They talk about abolition of private property. जो private property British माने introduce करिथिले in an individualistic form. तार abolition पाए communist माने कहिले so it is a different line of thinking which was made part of modern Indian political thought. Property should not be there. Against states should not be there. नुआ चिंताधारा स्टेट रो एवोल्यूशन रहिबा दरकार तबे जदि कम्युनिस्ट को माने पॉलिटिकल साइंस रखितो तमे जानिथिबो कम्युनिज्म माने होची सोसाइटी इज डिवाइडेड टू ग्रुप रिच एंड पुअर रिच ऑलवेज एक्सप्लॉइट्स द पुअर एवं गोटे समय आसे पुअर निजे को ऑर्गेनाइज करे रिच अगेंस्ट फाइट करे ताको कहा जाय क्लास स्ट्रगल एंड सोसाइटी चेंज अल्टीमेटली पुअर जेतेबेले इंडस्ट्रियलाइज सोसाइटी को आसीबो इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट एगेंस्ट फाइट करिवो क्लास स्ट्रगल हबो तापर सोसाइटी परिवर्तन हबो नाही कारण वर्किंग कम्युनिटी जेतेबेले पावर को आसीबो से प्रॉपर्टी रिडिस्ट्रीब्यूशन करिवो एवं क्लास रहिबो नाही स्टेट रहिबो कारण स्टेट इज ए सिंबल ऑफ रिच एगेन पॉइंट ऑफ डिपार्चर वर्तमान जाय जेतिकी पॉलिटिकल थिंकर सोशल रिफॉर्मर पर ठारू देखुछ समस्त स्टेट विषय को क्लासिकल पॉलिटिकल थॉट भी स्टेट विषय को प्रथम थर पर हिंदू पॉलिटिकल कम्युनिस्ट पॉलिटिकल थॉट अंडर द लीडरशिप ऑफ एम एन रॉय को स्टेट रो आवश्यक नहीं स्टेट को एबोलिश करो एवं किपरि एबोलिश करिवो थ्रू कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी थ्रू एन ऑर्गेनाइज्ड वायलेंट तेणु भारत रे इंडियन पॉलिटिकल ट्रेडिशन में वायलेंस आसला तेणु पॉइंट ऑफ डिपार्चर कौन देखिलो वेरी इंपोर्टेंट लेखिक रख तेणु प्रथम फेज है सोशल रिफॉर्मर who try to bridge the gap, who try to bridge the social cleavages, who talk about socialism. এই পয়েন্টর ড্রব্যাক কোন এই পয়েন্টর পলিটিক্যাল এজেন্ডা হি আমি পুরা পলিটিক্যাল থট করুছু এই পয়েন্টরে এই ফেজে পলিটিক্যাল এজেন্ডা নাই ইন্ডিভিজুয়াল স্টেট রিলেশনशिप কুহা যাও না তেଣୁ সেটা হচ্ছে তাଙ୍କର ড্রব্যাক তুমি পারফেক্ট ফেজর পজিটিভ জিনিস জানিবো নেগেটিভ सोशल रिफॉर्मर आसीबा पर फेजटा को कहा जाउची पॉइंट ऑफ डिपार्चर कारण प्रथम थोर पर पॉलिटिकल इश्यू आसीला पॉलिटिकल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन लाइक इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस आसीला सोशल इश्यू को पछ कर दिया गला तृतीय रे ऑर्गेनाइज्ड फॉर्म रे नेशनलिज्म आसीला पॉलिटिकल इश्यू आसीला चतुर्थ रे रिलीजियन रो यूज हला पंचम रे वायलेंस आसला जोटा कि आगे नथिला ताकू कहा जाए पॉइंट ऑफ डिपार्चर एतिकी बुझी पारलो ना नाइ बिफोर वी आर मूविंग टू सबाल्टर्न थिंकर देन तमे मेनस्ट्रीम थिंकर को आस मेनस्ट्रीम थिंकर इज डिवाइडेड इनटू जवाहरलाल नेहरू फर्स्ट गांधी जवाहरलाल नेहरू आंबेडकर तांको अलगा एथिपाई करा जायछि बिकॉज़ दे आर द मेनस्ट्रीम थिंकर तांको मेन कहा जाए तांकर ओपोनेंट हेले सबाल्टर्न और मेनस्ट्रीम थिंकर भितर डिफरेंस हला जो माने मेनस्ट्रीम थिंकर से माने कहउछंती जे सोसाइटी रो मुख्य स्रोतर लोक माने जहा कहउछन दैट इज फाइनल रिगार्डिंग इंडिविजुअल स्टेट रिलेशन स्टेट रहइबो कि नै मनुष्य रहइबो कि नै मनुष्यर राइट हबो कि नै सरकार जदि बनिबो तार किपरि स्वरूप नबो एई विषय रे से माने जहा कहबे दैट इज फाइनल दैट इज कॉल्ड मेनस्ट्रीम थिंकर और ए मेनस्ट्रीम थिंकर माने सेते बेले इंपोर्टेंट हेले because all of them were fighting against the British by remaining within an organized format that was Congress. कांग्रेस भितरे थाई से माने ब्रिटिश अगेंस्ट फाइट करबा समय रे जो पॉलिटिकल आइडिया टा को कहले that became quite popular because they had a platform with that organized way कहि पारिले तांकर वॉइस टा बेसी सुना गला तांको कहले मेनस्ट्रीम से माने को हम अलगा करी पढ़ा जाउ जे गांधी नेहरू आंबेडकर एटसेट्रा आउ गोटे ग्रुप अछि सबाल्टर्न ग्रुप माने कहंती जे सब बेले मेनस्ट्रीम थिंकर माने पॉलिटिकल थॉट प्रोसेस डिफाइन करंते नाही सोसाइटी जो वर्ग लोक माने तळे अछि ग्रासरूट लेवल अनप्रिविलेज्ड सेक्शन मे बी पीजेंट मे बी ट्राइबल मे बी वुमेन मे बी शेड्यूल्ड कास्ट दे हैव एन ओपिनियन अबाउट the individual state relationship also what their leaders talk about individual state relationship they talk in terms of the unprivileged people they do not कारण mainstream thinker सब बेले कहिबे our first agenda is freedom का हे जाओ except गांधी बाकी समस्त कहते let us have freedom first भारत स्वाधीन हो जाओ then we will talk about right, liberty, nationalism, constitution, etc. Gandhi would be the only person who would say no, political struggle and social reform would go side by side. But subaltern would say they would say their cause was much more important than freedom of struggle. Tribal people would talk about fighting against the tribal or fighting against the feudal laws. Peasant who talk against feudal laws. And same process में how they have articulated about equality, right and liberty. ସେମାନଙ୍କ writing ରେ ବ୍ରିଟିଶ ମାନଙ୍କ against ରେ struggle କରିବାର component ଅଳ୍ପ ନାହିଁ ବୋଲି କହିବ କିନ୍ତୁ mainstream thinker ରେ ବ୍ରିଟିଶ ମାନଙ୍କ against ରେ struggle ଟା ବେଶୀ problem. Am I clear or not? Now raise your doubt. Before ଆମେ next class ରେ mainstream thinker. Unmute yourself one by one and raise your doubt because your teacher has told me your whoever is in it, I don't know exactly the designation that
Hello, madam, voice is not audible. Madam, voice is not audible. Uh, Madam, you have muted your voice. Please unmute. Please
voice
unmute. Yeah,
asla
yeah, it's okay now. Yeah.
now ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ମତେ କୁହ ପିଲାମାନେ what are your problem? ଆମେ ଯଦି interaction ନ କରିବା then it is no point. 2 ଘଣ୍ଟା ଧରି monotonous lecture ଦବାଟା important ନୁହଁ, but I must know whether you are getting my point or not. I must know whatever is being taught for last 1.5 more than 1.5 hours, whether I have succeeded in clarifying your doubts or making you understand or not. Please interact with me. ଓଡ଼ିଆରେ କୁହ, no problem.
Yes, ma'am. What are the criticism? What are the criticism of study of Savarkar?
What are the
Study of Savarkar
subaltern
in
study?
Hindu nationalism.
नहीं नहीं, और
Criticism. What is
नहीं, there are.
What are the criticism?
Yes.
What are the criticism about the study of Savarkar in Hindu nationalism?
Savarkar. Yes, I got your point now. Now, that is called Hindutva political thought. Hindutva political thought ro artha hela, you are talking in terms of one religion. That means you consider either other religions, they don't exist, or they should not exist. So you are imagining the Indian society in terms of Hindu community only. Whereas during the period of Savarkar, Muslim community had become quite prominent. ମୁଁ ଯୋଉଟା କହିଲି 1906 ରେ ବ୍ରିଟିଶ ମାନଙ୍କ ସପୋର୍ଟ ରେ ତୁମର ମୁସଲିମ ଲିଗ ଫର୍ମ ହେଇ ସାରିଥିଲାଣି। ମୁସଲିମ ଆମର ଇସଲାମିକ ମୋଗଲ ମାନେ ଭାରତରେ ଥିଲେ, ମୁସଲିମ ମାନେ ଭାରତରେ ଅଛନ୍ତି। ହୁଏତ ହିନ୍ଦୁ ମାନଙ୍କର ସଂଖ୍ୟା ବେଶୀ ଥାଇପାରେ, that is not the point. Point is how to ignore that Muslims they do not exist. You talk about a nationalism. Savarkar and Golwalkar difference is Savarkar was inspired by West, Golwalkar was inspired by classical tradition. उभय गोटिए कथा कहते that Indian nationalism should be called Hindu nationalism. When you are saying it is Hindu nationalism, either you want the Muslims should go somewhere else, or you do not recognize their existence. Is it right? That is the difference. That is the criticism level against the Hindutva political thought. That for the first time, Indian political thought started getting defining in terms of religion, where other religions were not taken into account. तमे जदि क्लासिकल पीरियड को जीवो, क्लासिकल पीरियड रे हिंदू रिलीजन कुहा जाउ थिला, बट क्लासिकल पीरियड रे मुस्लिम माने नथिले. Hindu religion was reformed and Buddhist and Jain they existed. Subsequent period रे Buddhist and Jain they became part of Hindu religion. They were not so successful. किंतु मॉडर्न पीरियड रे मुस्लिम माने भारत रे इन्वेड करके आसिला पर भारत रे दे सेटल डाउन. इस तम सिपाही मोड रे they played a crucial role. You cannot deny their existence. तेणु क्लासिक कौन सी समय इंडियन पॉलिटिकल थॉट रिलीजन को नहीं डिफाइन है ना, जेतेबेले हिंदू पॉलिटिकल थॉट आसिला इन द हैंड ऑफ अरविंदो एंड विवेकानंद, सेमाने कहिले सेमाने मुस्लिम विषय कहि नांती, रेदर दे टॉक अबाउट रिफॉर्मिंग हिंदू रिलीजन. वेद कथा कहिले, उपनिषद कथा कहिले, and they wanted to reform all those things. so that caste system ରହିବ ନାହିଁ ସେମାନେ ମୁସଲିମ ବିଷୟରେ ସାଇଲେଣ୍ଟ ରହିବେ ଏମାନେ କହିଲେ ହିନ୍ଦୁ ରିଲିଜିୟନ ଇଜ ସୁପିରିୟର Hindutva line of thinking is the best line of thinking. Hindu people all over the world should come together. ଯେମିତି ISIS କହୁଛି all over the world ଯେତିକି ଅଛନ୍ତି Islamic people they should come together. Islamic state form କରାହବ. So that was the beginning of formation of Hindu state. ହେଲା ନାହିଁ କାରଣ ସେମାନେ ତ ଗୋଟିଏ ଲାଇନ ଅଫ ଥିଙ୍କିଂ ନଥିଲେ କଂଗ୍ରେସର ଅନ୍ୟ ଲୋକମାନେ ଥିଲେ ଯେଉଁମାନେ ପ୍ରବଳ ଭାବରେ ରେଜିଷ୍ଟ କରୁଥିଲେ ଗୋଲୱାଲକର ଆଉ ଏମାନଙ୍କର ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରାକୁ ସବସିକ୍ୱେଣ୍ଟଲି ବିଜେପି ପାର୍ଟି ଆସିଲା ବେଳେ I don't go enter into politics ତମେ ଗୋଟେ ନୂଆ ଇଣ୍ଟରପ୍ରିଟେସନ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ନୂଆ ନେରେଟିଭ ଦେଖୁଛ ହିନ୍ଦୁ ଟର୍ମ ବିଷୟରେ ସେକୁଲାରିଜମର ଡେଫିନେସନ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଭାରତରେ ଭିନ୍ନ ହେଇଗଲାଣି ଆଗରୁ ସେକୁଲାରିଜମର ଅର୍ଥ କଣ ଭାରତ ଯେତେବେଳେ ସ୍ୱାଧୀନ ହେଲା ସେକୁଲାର କୁହାଗଲା କାହିଁକି ସେକୁଲାର କୁହାଗଲା କାରଣ ଭାରତରେ ବିଭିନ୍ନ ଧର୍ମର ଲୋକ ଅଛନ୍ତି ସେକୁଲାରିଜମର ଅର୍ଥ ହଉଛି state must give protection to all religion in a similar manner. It is the responsibility of the state to protect all religion alike. କାହିଁକି କୁହାଗଲା କାରଣ ଦେଶ ସ୍ୱାଧୀନ ହେଲା ବେଳେ ଜଣାଗଲା ଯେ ଭାରତରେ ହିନ୍ଦୁ ବ୍ୟତୀତ ଅନ୍ୟ କମ୍ୟୁନିଟି ମାଇନରିଟିରେ ହେଲେ ମଧ୍ୟ they do exist and state ର responsibility ହଉଛି to protect all. ତେଣୁ ଗୋଲୱାଲକର ଆଉ ସଭରକର ଯୋଉ ତମେ ପଚାରୁଛ କ୍ରିଟିସିଜମ କର if you are talking of one community in an area state ତ କହିବ ନା state ତ ଆସିନଥିଲା ସେତେବେଳେ ଯୋଉ ଜାଗାରେ କି ଅନ୍ୟ ଧର୍ମ ବଲାଙ୍ଗୀର ଲୋକ ରହୁଛନ୍ତି obviously there would be criticism you are not recognizing or he was not recognizing or they were not recognizing the existence of Muslim people who is partially emboldened the Islamic political figures to demand for Pakistan. They felt insecure. ତାଗରୁ ନଥିଲା ବୋଲି ନୁହଁ ତାଗରୁ ମୁସଲିମ ଲିଗ ଫର୍ମ ହେଇ ସାରିଥିଲାଣି ତାଗରୁ ବ୍ରିଟିଶର ମାନେ ମୁସଲିମ ମାନଙ୍କୁ ସପୋର୍ଟ ଦେଇ ସାରିଥିଲେଣି କିନ୍ତୁ ସାଭରକର ଆଉ ଗୋଲୱାଲଙ୍କର ଚିନ୍ତା ଦ୍ୱାରା ମୁସଲିମ ମାନଙ୍କ ମନରେ ଏଜ ଏ ମାଇନରିଟି ଭୟ ଆହୁରି ହେଲା ଯୋଉଟା କି ଇସଲାମିକ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥଟ୍କୁ ଜନ୍ମ ଦେଲା ତେଣୁ କୌଣସି ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥଟ୍ ଯେତେବେଳେ ରିଲିଜିୟନର ବେସିସରେ ଡିଫାଇନ ହୁଏ ତାକୁ ନେଗେଟିଭ କୁହାଯାଏ ୱେଷ୍ଟର୍ଣ୍ଣ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥଟ୍କୁ ସେକୁଲାର କୁହାଯାଏ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ମୁଁ କମ୍ପାରିଜନ କରୁଛି କାରଣ ମିଡିଆଭାଲ ପିରିୟଡ ଛଡା ୱେଷ୍ଟର୍ଣ୍ଣ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥଟ୍ରେ ତମେ ଦେଖିବ ନାହିଁ ରିଲିଜିୟନ କେତେବେଳେ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରା ଉପରେ ହାବି ହୁଏ ତେଣୁ ତାକୁ କୁହାଯାଏ ସେକୁଲାର ପଲିଟିକାଲ କ୍ଲିୟର ହେଲା am I clear or not
yes thank you
any more doubt any more
Please tell me what is the national ideas of Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay?
Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. Bankim Chandra
Nationalism
Chattopadhyay.
idea of Bankim Chandra.
Yes, I'm telling that.
Yes,
he was a social reformer. He belonged to a period where nationalism was not there. Nationalism kahaku kହୁଛ ଯେତେବେଳେ nationalism is a subjective feeling when we people think that we have one culture, one heritage, one religion. ଗୋଟିଏ ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରାରେ ଆମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଯୋଡି ହଉ ତାକୁ କୁହାଯାଏ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲିଜମ ଷ୍ଟେଟ କାହାକୁ କୁହାଯାଏ ଟେରିଟୋରି ପପୁଲେସନ ଗଭର୍ଣ୍ଣମେଣ୍ଟ ସୋଭରେନିଟି କଲେ ଷ୍ଟେଟ କୁହାଯାଏ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଷ୍ଟେଟ ଆଉ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲିଜମ ଦିଟା ମିଶି ଯାଆନ୍ତି ତାକୁ କୁହାଯାଏ ନେସନ ଷ୍ଟେଟ ତେଣୁ ଗୋଟିଏ ଷ୍ଟେଟ ସକ୍ସେସଫୁଲ ହବାକୁ ହେଲେ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲିଷ୍ଟିକ ଫିଲିଂ ଥିଲେ ସେଇ ଷ୍ଟେଟଟା ଷ୍ଟ୍ରଙ୍ଗ ହୁଏ ତେଣୁ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲିଜମ ରହିବା ଓକେ ତେଣୁ ବଙ୍କିମ ଚନ୍ଦ୍ରର କଣ୍ଟ୍ରିବ୍ୟୁସନ କହିଲେ ପ୍ରଥମ ଥର ପାଇଁ ସେ ଗୋଟିଏ ଟାଇମରେ ସେ କହିଲେ that Hindu community he used the word Hindu community ସେତିକି ଦିନ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ହିନ୍ଦୁ କମ୍ୟୁନିଟି ବୋଲି କେହି ଅଟର କରିନଥିଲେ ବନ୍ଦେ ମାତରମ୍ ବୋଲି ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେ ଆଡ୍ରେସ କଲେ से कहले भारत रे सेतबेले मुस्लिम मानकर इन्फ्लुएंस टाकू से तुम कम्युनल टेंडेंसी जेतेबेले लोक नेगेट करंती सेतेबेले बंकिम चंद्र रु आरंभ करंती हिंदू कम्युनिटी शुड कम टुगेदर एंड दे शुड स्टेट कथा कहना से आगे को भाभी पारि ना से टाइम रे स्टेट नथिला हिंदू कम्युनिटी शुड ऑर्गेनाइज इटसेल्फ एंड तांकर टार्गेट ता ब्रिटिश अगेंस्ट फाइट नथिला तांको एजेंडा ता स्टेट फॉर्म करबा नथिला से कहउतले जे भारत सेतेबेलर परिस्थिति रे बंकिम चंद्र कहउतले सेतेबेलर परिस्थिति रे सब हिंदू कम्युनिटी should come together under the banner that Vande Mataram. जेतेबेले से वंदे मातरम कहले सेतेबेले भारत माता की जय तेनु प्रथम थर पाई तांको नेशनलिज्म जेतेबेले कोआ जाउची भारत माता माने कोन वर्तमान इंडिया जेतेबेले कहउछ जम्मू काश्मीर रु तमे तमिलनाडु इमेजिन करूछ एपटे गुजरात रु अरुणाचल कहउछ सेतेबेले भारत रो डायमेंशन बेसी थिला अफगानिस्तान बर्मा सब भारत रो थिला सेतेबेले सेतेबेले सेही मैप को इमेजिन करो सेतेबेले से भारत माता कहले द होल भारत माता कैन बी इंटरप्रिटेड इन टर्म्स ऑफ हिंदू कम्युनिटी तेनु नेशनलिज्म रो वार्ता बंकिम चंद्र को समारो आरंभ इज इट क्लियर
Yes, ma'am.
तेनु
Ma'am,
तांकर
what is the historical role of Jyotirao Phule?
व्हाट इज द
Hello?
व्हाट इज द
Historical role of Jyotirao Phule.
Jyotiba Phule I told you na probably you are a
Yes,
little
ma'am.
bit unmindful Jyotiba Phule was inspired by Karl Marx. Jyotiba Phule talked about two things, or in one word you can say, he talked about social equality. Social equality can be divided into two parts. One, he was talking about male-female equality, or he was fighting for the women cause, women education, and secondly, he fought for the Dalit upliftment. So Jyotiba Phule was the precursor of Ambedkar. जो Ambedkar को हमें 20th century जानू who fought for the cause of social justice, who fought for the Dalit. Jyotiba Ambedkar आसीबार around 60 वर्ष आगु ज्योतिबा फुले प्रथम थर पाए सोशल जस्टिस कथा कहिथिले जस्टिस इज ए पॉलिटिकल वैल्यू जस्टिस इज ए कंपोनेंट ऑफ पॉलिटिकल थॉट सोशल जस्टिस अर्थ तुम्हें गोटे सोसाइटी रो बैकवर्ड कम्युनिटी अनप्रिविलेज सेक्शन पाई जेतेबेले फाइट करो ताकू कहा जाय सोशल जस्टिस तेणु सेही समय रे सोशल जस्टिस विषय रे ज्योतिबा फुले प्रथम थर पाई वॉइस रेज करथिले and he demanded from the British that the Dalits should be protected. That is number one. And second, Jyotiba Phule ro wife Savitri Phule, तमे तांगा ना आजिकल सोशल मीडिया रे देखुछो, he fought for the women education because he believed as long as the women were not educated, parity of status between male and female would never take. Clear? तेणु सोसाइटी रे सोशल रिफॉर्मर माने कोन कहले जे जाति वर्ण न रहू मेल फीमेल समान रहू रिलीजियन ना रे सेग्रीगेशन न हो तेणु सोसाइटी से माने गोटे बेस क्रिएट कर जो बेस ऊपरे तिलक परी लोक नेशनलिज्म रो गछ लगेबे तेणु गछटा सक्सेसफुल हला गांधी ताको आगो को नेले नेहरू आगो को नेले तमे जे सोसाइटी रो बेस ता डिवाइडेड हेकि थिबो कोनोसी नेशनलिज्म कोनोसी प्लान जाक कहूची नेशनलिज्म it would have never grown तेणु सब सोशल रिफॉर्मर they provided a base for the growth of Indian nationalism. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Again.
तेणु पढ़
Ma'am.
प्रथमे तमने
Ma'am. Ma'am, again explain the Hindutva political thought and Hindu. Please, ma'am. Again.
Sure. Don't say me, please. It is my responsibility to make you understand. Hindu political thought and Hindutva. गोटे होची Hindu political thought रो जे advocate they wanted to reform Hindu. कहीं रिफॉर्म कले लेट वैदिक पीरियड रे हिंदू रिलीजियन हैड स्टार्टेड डिकेइंग कास्ट सिस्टम आसिला अनटचेबिलिटी आसिला तेणु हिंदू रिलीजियन स्टार्टेड गेटिंग क्लोज डिस्पंक्ट हो गला मोरोज हो गला फसिलाइज्ड हो गला तेणु एई हिंदू पॉलिटिकल थिंकर माने से माने एई धर्म को परिवर्तन रे आनिबा को एवं से माने कहिले हिंदू रिलीजियन टा गोटे प्रोग्रेसिव रिलीजियन जो थे दलित कंपोनेंट रहिबा कथा नुहे उपनिषद रे दलित कथा कहा जाय नहीं वेद रे दलित कथा कहा जाय नहीं तो व्हाई शुड वी टॉक अबाउट ऑल दिस रबिश so let us reform let us make the religion free from superstition so they talk about only reforming the Hindu religion and a period re Vivekananda एवं Aurobindo they spread the message of fraternity तेणु विवेकानंद को because he talked about brotherhood fraternity विवेकानंद को गोटे इंटरनेशनलिज्म रो पायोनियर बोली भी कहा जाए लीव असाइड देश भीतर डिवीजन नुहे से कहते होल वर्ल्ड इज वन यूनिट वेयर वी ऑल आर ब्रदर्स एंड सिस्टर्स देश भीतर भाग रहिबा कथा तेणु हिंदू पॉलिटिकल थिंकर माने हिंदू रिलीजियन को रिफॉर्म करबा कथा तमे जेतेबेले हिंदुत्व कथा कहूछ हिंदुत्व टॉक अबाउट ग्लोरीफाइंग हिंदू रिलीजियन मन रख एमाने रिफॉर्म करिवो कहले सेमाने ग्लोरीफाई करबा कहले ता भितरे भलो अछि खराब अछि बा ता भितरे कोन खराब अछि सेटा टू सम एक्सटेंट कवर कर कहले जे कास्ट सिस्टम उठिबा कथा किंतु गोलवालकर बेलको आसीबो से कास्ट सिस्टम रो एवोल्यूशन कथा भी कहि नांती से कहले एक्सेप्ट द हिंदू रिलीजियन एज इट इज and consider the Hindu religion as the supreme religion. India should be known by the Hindu religion only and exclusively. That means others should not exist or others had no place in India. So दुईटा एकाठी अलगा हैला. Tell me, Rafiha.
Yes, ma'am.
दुईटा एका हैला कि अलगा हैला?
नहीं मैम अलगा डिफरेंस
अलगा जड़े रिफॉर्म करिवि तू यदि खराब अछि खराब तो थिला ना खराब थिला you must admit it so they talked about reviving the early Vedic values and talked about reforming the existing evil practices but Savalkar and Golwalkar time रे हिंदू रिलीजियन को पूजा करा गला रिफॉर्म नहीं पूजा करा गला ग्लोरीफाई करा गला thereby कोन हला जो माइनॉरिटी कम्युनिटी भारत रे थिले से माने भयभीत होइगिरी इस्लामिक रिलीजियन को आहुरी जाबुड़ी धरते जोटा के इस्लामिक पॉलिटिकल थॉट को जन्म देला जोटा के सक्सेसिव पीरियड रे पाकिस्तान में जन्म देला किंतु एटा को नाही गोलवालकर सावरकर ही रेस्पोंसिबल पाकिस्तान पाई अदर माने भी रेस्पोंसिबल जेते बेले मुस्लिम लीग क्रिएट हला ब्रिटिश मानकर सहायता रे से माने भी रेस्पोंसिबल जेतेबेले तिलक कहले गणेश पूजा अनइंटेंशनली कले टू सम एक्सटेंट ही इज आल्सो रेस्पोंसिबल तो समस्तंकर रिजल्ट को कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ फैक्टर्स को नेकी पाकिस्तान नो क्रिएट तो इस्लामिक पॉलिटिकल थॉट हिंदू पॉलिटिकल थॉट को भारत और इंडियन पॉलिटिकल थॉट से पॉजिटिवली लिया जाए ना है बिकॉज़ दे हैव डिफाइंड रिलीजन द स्टेट इंडिविजुअल रिलेशनशिप इन टर्म्स ऑफ रिलीजन क्लियर
Yes,
clear
ma'am.
or not?
Clear.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Clear. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So should we wind up now?
Ma'am, please discuss again about
Ma'am,
Orientalism.
One by one. Orientalism is the first question. Orientalism होची western गोटे होची western thought गोटे होची oriental. Oriental माने होची west opposite ता भीतर चाइना आसी पारे ता भीतर भारत आसी पारे ओरिएंटल थॉट तेणु जोटा मु कहते इनर डोमेन माने इंडिया civilization Indian civilization is known for spiritual growth and that is called Orientalism किंतु ओरिएंटालिज्म को दुईटा वर्गर लोक सपोर्ट करथिले गोटिए वर्ग हला जो माने तिलक लाइक पीपल Aurobindo like people, Dayananda Saraswati, they wanted to revive the old value. तांकु तो Orientalist कहबो ही कहबो. But you will be surprised to know that in England also, in America also, there is a group called Orientalists. Western people hate Western philosophy is known for materialism, Western thought. Indian thought is known for spiritualism. So Oriental ଲୋକମାନେ Oriental philosophy give priority to spiritualism. ତେଣୁ ଭାରତର ଲୋକମାନେ କେବଳ Oriental ଥିଲେ ତାହା ନୁହେଁ, ଆମେରିକାରେ ଏବଂ ଇଂଲଣ୍ଡରେ ଗୋଟେ ଗ୍ରୁପ ଅଫ ଲୋକ ଅଛନ୍ତି ଯାହାକୁ Oriental thinker କୁହାଯାଏ. ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ in 21st century ଏବଂ 19th century ରେ 20th century ରେ ମଧ୍ୟ they have Britishers ମାନଙ୍କୁ କହିଥିଲେ ଯେ Western civilization is inferior to Indian civilization because spiritual growth gives much more solace than the material civilization. ତେଣୁ Orientalism ମାନେ a line of thinking which gives priority to inner growth, inner consciousness, spiritualism. It is advocated both by Indian scholars and to some extent by some of the Western scholars, those who believe Western civilization characterized by materialism is inferior to Indian civilization. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ କି doubt ପଚାରୁଥିଲା? Somebody else?
Ma'am, basic ingredient of an political thinkers ମାନେ ଯୋଉ ଥିଲେ ସେମାନଙ୍କର ନେସନ ପାଇଁ ବେସିକ ଇନଗ୍ରେଡିଏଣ୍ଟସ କ'ଣ ଥିଲା?
ନା କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଟା ତ ଭେଗ ହେଇଗଲା. ନେସନ ପାଇଁ ଇନଗ୍ରେଡିଏଣ୍ଟ କ'ଣ? You will fight for nation. ନେସନ ର ଇନଗ୍ରେଡିଏଣ୍ଟ କ'ଣ? ଗୋଟେ ଷ୍ଟେଟ ର ହଉଛି ଟେରିଟୋରି, ପପୁଲେସନ, ଗଭର୍ଣ୍ଣମେଣ୍ଟ, ସୋଭରେନିଟି ତାର କମ୍ପୋନେଣ୍ଟ. ନେସନ ଷ୍ଟେଟ ମାନେ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଏକ୍ସଟ୍ରା କମ୍ପୋନେଣ୍ଟ ହେଲା ନ୍ୟାସନାଲିଜମ. ତେଣୁ ସେମାନେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଫାଇଟ୍ କରୁଥିଲେ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲିଜମ ପାଇଁ, ଯେତେବେଳେ ଫାଇଟ୍ କରୁଥିଲେ ବ୍ରିଟିଶ ମାନଙ୍କ ଏଗେନଷ୍ଟ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଫାଇଟ୍ କରୁଥିଲେ, ଡ୍ୟୁରିଂ ଦ୍ୟାଟ ପ୍ରୋସେସ ସେମାନେ ଷ୍ଟେଟ କଥା କହିଲେ, ଦେଶ ସ୍ୱାଧୀନ ହେଲେ ଭାରତରେ ସମ୍ବିଧାନ କିପରି ତିଆରି ହେବ ତା କଥା କହିଲେ, ଯୋଉ ସମ୍ବିଧାନ ତିଆରି ହେବ ସେଥିରେ ଲୋକଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ କି ରାଇଟ ରହିବ, କି ଫ୍ରିଡମ ରହିବ ସେ କଥା କହିଲେ. ବୁଝୁଛ କି ନାଇଁ? ତେଣୁ ନେସନର ଇନଗ୍ରେଡିଏଣ୍ଟ ବୋଲି ସେମିତି କିଛି ନାହିଁ. କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଟା ଟିକେ ତମର ପୁଟ୍ କରିବାରେ ଟିକେ ଡିଫିକଲ୍ଟି ହଉଛି. ତମେ କ'ଣ ପଚାରିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଛ କହିପାରୁ? ଓଡ଼ିଆରେ କ୍ଲିୟରଲି କହୁନ. ନେସନର ଇନଗ୍ରେଡିଏଣ୍ଟ ମାନେ
ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥିଙ୍କର୍ସ ମାନେ ଯୋଉ ଥିଲେ, ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥିଙ୍କର୍ସ ମାନେ ଯୋଉ ଥିଲେ ସେମାନଙ୍କର ନେସନ ପାଇଁ ବେଶୀ କମ୍ପୋନେଣ୍ଟସ ଗୁଡାକ କ'ଣ?
ଆରେ ମୁଁ ପୁରା କହିଲି ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥିଙ୍କର୍ସ. ହଁ ଶୁଣ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥିଙ୍କର୍ସ ଆକ୍ରସ୍ ଦ ୱାର୍ଲଡ. ଭାରତ କାହିଁକି ପୁରା ସମଗ୍ର ପୃଥିବୀରେ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥିଙ୍କର୍ସ ମାନଙ୍କର ନେସନ ଅର୍ଥ ହଉଛି ଟେରିଟୋରି ରହିବ, ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗା, ପପୁଲେସନ ଲୋକ ସଂଖ୍ୟା, ଗଭର୍ଣ୍ଣମେଣ୍ଟ ମାନେ ହଉଛି ସରକାର, sovereignty ମାନେ ହଉଛି an element which makes the state internally and externally independent. ତେଣୁ ଗୋଟିଏ ଅର୍ଗାନାଇଜେସନ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଗୋଟେ ଅର୍ଗାନାଇଜେସନରେ ଲୋକ ସଂଖ୍ୟା ଥାଏ, ପପୁଲେସନ, ଗୋଟିଏ ନିର୍ଦ୍ଧାରିତ ଜାଗା ଥାଏ ଟେରିଟୋରି, ସରକାର ଥାଏ ଗଭର୍ଣ୍ଣମେଣ୍ଟ ଏବଂ ସୁପ୍ରିମ ପାୱାର ଥାଏ ଟୁ ଡୁ ଏନିଥିଙ୍ଗ, sovereignty, ତାକୁ କୁହାଯାଏ ଷ୍ଟେଟ. ସେଇ ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଫିଲିଂଟା ନ୍ୟାସନାଲିଷ୍ଟିକ ଫିଲିଂ ଯୋଡି ହେଇଯାଏ ତାକୁ କୁହାଯାଏ ନେସନ ଷ୍ଟେଟ. ତେଣୁ ଭାରତ କାହିଁକି? ଭାରତର ବାହାରର ଲୋକମାନେ ବି ଷ୍ଟେଟ କହିଲେ ଏଇଆ ବୁଝିବେ, କିନ୍ତୁ ଭାରତର ଯୋଉ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥିଙ୍କର ମାନେ ଅଛନ୍ତି ସେମାନେ କଂକ୍ରିଟ ଟର୍ମରେ ଷ୍ଟେଟ ବୋଲି କିଛି ଡିଫାଇନ ଏଥିପାଇଁ କରିପାରି ନାହାନ୍ତି. ସେମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥଟ୍ ଲେଖିବୁ ବୋଲି ବସି ନାହାନ୍ତି. ଯେମିତି ରାମାୟଣ ଲେଖାଗଲା, ମହାଭାରତ ଲେଖାଗଲା, ଲେଭିଆଥା ଲେଖାଗଲା, ମେକିଆଭେଲିର ପ୍ରିନ୍ସ ଲେଖାଗଲା, ଏମାନେ ଗୋଟିଏ ଜାଗାରେ ବସିକିରି ବହି ଲେଖି ନାହାନ୍ତି. ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥଟ୍ ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କର ମୋଟୋ ଥିଲା ହାଉ ଟୁ ଡେଭଲପ ଦ ସୋସାଇଟି, ସବସିକ୍ୱେଣ୍ଟ ପିରିୟଡରେ ହାଉ ଟୁ ଡେଭଲପ ଦ ତିନିଟା ଏଜେଣ୍ଡା ଦେଖ. ପ୍ରଥମେ ହାଉ ଟୁ ଡେଭଲପ ଦ ସୋସାଇଟି, ଦ୍ୱିତୀୟ ଏଜେଣ୍ଡା ହେଲା ହାଉ ଟୁ ରିମୁଭ ଦ ବ୍ରିଟିଶ, ତୃତୀୟ ଏଜେଣ୍ଡା ହେଲା ଯେତେବେଳେ ବ୍ରିଟିଶ ମାନେ ବାହାରି ଗଲେ ଦେଶକୁ କିପରି ଆମେ ଗୋଟେ ସଲିଡ ନେସନ ଷ୍ଟେଟ ହିସାବରେ ଠିଆ କରିବା. ତେଣୁ ହୋଲ ପ୍ରୋସେସରେ ଆଇଦର ଦେଶକୁ କିପରି ସୋସାଇଟିରେ ଯୋଉ ଇଭିଲ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିସେସ୍ ଅଛି ତାକୁ ଦୂର କରିବା, ବା ବ୍ରିଟିଶ ମାନଙ୍କୁ ବାହାର କରିବା, ବା ବ୍ରିଟିଶ ମାନେ ବାହାରି ଗଲା ପରେ ଦେଶକୁ କିପରି ଠିଆ କରେଇବା, ସେଇ ଅବଜେକ୍ଟିଭରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେମାନେ ଫାଇଟ୍ କରୁଥିଲେ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ କଣ୍ଟେକ୍ସଟରେ ନେସନ ବିଷୟରେ କହିଛନ୍ତି, ଷ୍ଟେଟ୍ ବିଷୟରେ କହିଛନ୍ତି, ମଣିଷ ବିଷୟରେ କହିଛନ୍ତି, ମଣିଷର ରିକ୍ୱାର୍ଡ ଭ୍ୟାଲ୍ୟୁ ରାଇଟ୍ ଲିବର୍ଟି ବିଷୟରେ କହିଛନ୍ତି। ବୁଝିପାରିଲ? ତେଣୁ ଭାରତର ଇଣ୍ଡିଆନ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥଟ୍ଟା ଡିସଜଏଣ୍ଟେଡ ହେଇକି ହିୟର ଏଣ୍ଡ ଦେୟାର ଏମିତି ଡିସଜଏଣ୍ଟେଡ ହେଇକି ଦେଖାଯାଏ। ଯେମିତି ୱେଷ୍ଟର୍ଣ୍ଣ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥଟ୍ଟା ଗୋଟେ କଂକ୍ରିଟ ବହି ଫର୍ମରେ ଦେଖିବ, ଇଣ୍ଡିଆନ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଥଟ୍ଟା ସେମିତି ଦେଖିପାରିବ ନାହିଁ। କିନ୍ତୁ ଷ୍ଟେଟ୍ ଅର୍ଥ ହଉଛି ସେଇଆ ପୃଥିବୀ ଯାକରେ। ବୁଝିହେଲା?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, should I wind up now or any more doubt? ତମେ ଶୁଣ, I am giving you one assignment. Go through the book. Half is more than half is covered. So now it is your turn. You should go through the book. मैडम को क्वेश्चन पचार देले तो होनी ना. You go through your book. Note down your questions. आर सेशन में क्लास आरंभ होवा आगरू I will address your question. Then I go to the last group, that is the synthesizer. For how they have contributed for the growth of Indian political thought. Okay? Is it okay with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then let us wind up.
Hello. Okay, madam.
Thank you.
I think there is no more question. And today's class was very much interactive. I think
okay.
learners have enjoyed the class.
I think so.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for your nice
Thank
cooperation and nice presentation.
Thank
you,
you,
dear learners. Okay. Thank you all.